you are very welcome to the Overlap Rugby podcast, number 75.
That's right.
75 in the books.
Yeah.
After we do this. Daragh, Shane.
Hello.
Two Irish lads talking all things rugby.
Absolutely.
From the sort of perspective of Leinster and Ireland.
That's it, yeah.
We had our sort of first look back at the opening couple of weeks of Champions Cup rugby last week, obviously putting to bed the dramatic World Cup, such as it was.
Yeah.
And this week we are excited to get into the teeth of all of the weekend's Champions Cup games.
This is it, yeah. Double headers coming up, so that's kind of very much the dynamic of the podcast. We're going to be looking into what makes both these teams tick in each matchup, and kind of breaking down the winning conditions for both, I suppose, in going into the first of the double headers.
Absolutely. Yeah, we were hoping to get one out a little earlier this week. Obviously, we're shooting this now Thursday afternoon, going into Thursday evening, and obviously there's a game this time tomorrow, so we'll hopefully be able to get some of the vids up and the main show up for you anyway in time. I guess you'll know
whether we are successful or not.
Whether we've been successful or not. But yeah, it's a Champions Cup themed show, and yeah, we're gonna go through all the games, and that's more or less what the show's going to be. We're going to wrap it up with a bit of other news, and there is sort of a load of news this week, and we will do all of that at the end of the show. But in the interim, just going to go through all of the European games.
For sure.
That said, when January rolls around, we have had a couple of questions. We will be getting into the teeth of Super Rugby when that comes around, and we will be getting into the teeth of all of the Southern Hemisphere rugby and all of the rugby.
For sure. And then Six Nations will come sooner than later as well. This is all going to be going on, but we are going to keep things ticking over, and at the moment the focus is definitely European Champions Cup rugby, because it's in the World Cup year, it's all condensed. It's December double headers rather than any earlier, and and by the way, if you enjoy any of the content we have, please do like and subscribe down below if you're new here. Otherwise, leave a comment down below as well, because we enjoy the little conversation and discourse. We like to hear what your views on the rugby are as well.
Subs, comments is what we
shares. If you have any rugby loving friends, share that too.
Yeah, all of that is important. And just one other thing is that we just a little point of order is that we know that the Rugby Africa Cup is going on at the moment, but we haven't been paying any real attention to it. It was only something that I noticed because I saw the crowd at the Madagascar v Nigeria game,
which is an awesome
just deserves a shout out, just because it was this huge crowd in Madagascar
or something.
Where you informed me that rugby is actually the national sport of Madagascar.
I believe so.
Super cool, and I think we will try and take a look at that tournament over the next week or so, but it's just not something that we've been up to speed with up until now. So for this week, it is all about the main show going on in rugby at the moment, which is the Champions Cup. Best club competition in rugby, I dare say.
I dare say you're right, to be honest. Judging by all these Sanzar chats and the divisiveness in the Southern Hemisphere, I think it is definitely. We will pivot into it now and start off. As we tend to do, we'll be going in chronological order through the games. So that starts this Friday, which will be today as you're watching this. And it is Bath v Clermont in the Rec at 7:45 p.m. And good game, to be honest. Like, the Rec is a tough place to go, for sure. Like, it's one of the great cauldrons of European rugby. Bath are winless after two, but this group is more bunched than others. They have 2 points, whereas the table top of Ulster are on 8. So that's not as dead and buried as defeats tend to read. Up
until a few years ago, no side had ever lost their opening 2 fixtures and got through. But I believe, I want to say Scarlets were the side to do that. I could be wrong. It was somebody though who ran the table after losing the first 2 and got through. And this is definitely a pool where you can see that potential.
For sure.
But that said, everything is at stake here for Bath. They can't afford another loss. And likewise, Clermont, after shipping a really sloppy defeat away in Ravenhill, are in a position where if they have another sloppy away defeat, it becomes a real uphill battle to get out of the pool. It absolutely does.
This is true.
You're talking about running the table with bonus points from there on in, which is not. It's not inconceivable that they would do that, but it's
pretty inconceivable to me, because I actually it's something I keep bringing up. But the Rec is a lovely stadium and a terrible pitch.
Oh no, but I mean after this game, if they lose this game, they could run the table with bonus points. But that's what they'll have to do.
Very unlikely that they do any of that. But
it's a colossal game, and it is the only game of this weekend, unfortunately, that we have the teams announced for, which we won't have for any of the other games, although you probably will. But but the teams were just announced today, and the big real news from them. Well, first of all, Clermont, despite having a very strong team, do not have. They haven't had the return of Messrs Fofana and Pinot.
Yeah.
And Bath, really no Sam Underhill
is the big story for me. That's huge because even the prep I was thinking it was low Underhill is the factor when you go to that pitch in the Rec and you're playing in the mud and those two terriers are in every breakdown. It really makes every game quite combative and quite low scoring and just very physical in the middle of the park. So it remains to be seen how they will manage to frustrate without him, because he is a big pivot point.
Like Mike Williams and Josh Bayless are in the flank with Sam Underhill with Francois Lowe in at number 8, and they're just going to have to approach the game in the same way as they otherwise would. They have their messy pitch, and the guys who are in instead of Underhill are just going to have to step up. They're going to have to make it spoily and make it nasty. From Bath's perspective, like it one of the things that keeps colouring their home games is the poor quality of their pitch. When you actually look at their backline, pretty damn tasty.
It should be tasty. It is.
Reece Priestley can run a backline for sure.
Freddie Burns similarly, it depends. Like he comes off the bench. Or vice versa, they've done as well.
There's a lovely balance to Jamie Roberts and Jonathan Joseph in the centre. You can see them working off one another. The sort of one-dimensional physicality of Roberts and then the twinkle toes, but
this is it.
Sometimes softness of Jonathan Joseph. You like to think that they can cancel each other out and play to each other's strengths. They got two killers on the wing, Rocca Daguni and Rui McConaughey.
Absolutely,
two absolute lightning bolts and finishers. So I mean, if they choose to use the ball, they definitely can.
Yeah, that's why that's why I keep coming back. I don't like talking conditions too much, but like with those wide men that you just named there, the fact is they tend to move in slow. Like all games, the tempo is slower in the Rec because the pitch. And they move it in this stuck in the mud kind of slow tempo way, and then the games end up being tight, which to be honest may suit in this fixture will suit them more than it will suit Clermont for sure. Clermont will not enjoy playing that way, but in the reverse fixture and these double headers end up playing out in pairs, and are you going to win the double header rather than the single game? I think it serves this Bath team really poorly to be playing week in week out on that pitch, because then when they go to places like the Allianz Arena and face Sarries on AstroTurf, they are blitzed all the time, and that may happen in the reverse fixture in Clermont as well. But like Bath still should take heart from the fact that they have groundhogs and terriers in the pack,
especially
and they
Francois
can strike,
Lowe,
especially Francois Lowe. And they can strike. Like they should be trying to make this messy, and they should be taking encouragement from Clermont's showing in Ravenhill, which isn't as bad as I think the Rec is actually the worst pitch in the competition. But Ravenhill's a bit of a messy, cold place to play, and they looked cold compared to week 1 when they looked invulnerable. They actually looked away from home, like they weren't at the pace of the game, at the pitch of the game at all, and that's what Bath will try and inflict on them.
Definitely what Bath need to do. I mean, Clermont don't like not having the ball. They are one of those sides traditionally, and they don't like it when games get scrappy. They have a reputation, they have an ill-earned reputation as bottlers, because they always lose the tight knockout games. But it's not a case of them bottling it. It's just reflective of their season-long form, which they get away with in the pools, and they can turn it on, and they can have possession, and they can find tries. But when the games tighten it up, they're really bad at managing their way through it.
True. And they also let teams back into games. They cough up lead. They cough up tries.
Just their defence isn't great. And Bath need to make them defend for large periods of the game. They need to hold the ball. They need to frustrate teams. They need to be accurate when they do choose to kick. You need to see the Priestland bomb working its treat. It's a real shame they've got Tom Homer in at fullback. It's obviously a real shame, almost as big a shame, that Anthony Watson isn't in there as well. He's obviously been in stellar form from the World Cup. But they could still punish Clermont. I mean,
they could.
Nick Abendinen from Clermont and even Raka, under the high ball, they struggled against Ulster. And, that's like, it's just got to be application of pressure, extremely disciplined resourcing of the offensive breakdown. They have to be honest with their own conditions. You can't throw the ball around. They're not particularly adept at doing that anyway. But just build slowly and build slowly and build slowly, and force Clermont to make tackle after tackle. Clermont don't have a natural jackler in there. They don't have a natural 7.
Yeah, so Clermont are lacking in that.
Yeah,
So even without the double,
but
that's why it would have been nice to have Underhill just so you could completely ruin it for them that way. But Francois Lowe can do the job of 3 men on his own anyway.
He really can. But it's just on offense. It's just the whole pack needs to be disciplined. Get in there, no jackals, no errors. Make it slow. Make Clermont make their tackles. And then all of a sudden, you're starting to see the picture of how Bath could frustrate Clermont to get in there. Because obviously, on paper, you would say Clermont are the stronger side.
You would, and there is still a risk in terms of if they're too slow and laboured, and similarly not building up enough scoreboard pressure.
Yeah.
Clermont are of these two sides the ones that can strike and find a 7-pointer out of nowhere. Which actually, even looking to last week in Urek when Sarries picked their A team, because Sarries have to pick their A team and blitz through the thing, that Bath did go through a period of sustained pressure for eventually only 3 points, and then the superior side kind of turned it on for enough time to put distance between them.
There is a bit of that, and that's where the exit game is so crucial. I mean, like, Bath are going to have to be a wee bit honest about their limitations. They're quite one-dimensional, even though they have that good backline. The best way of playing their wingers into the game is with Priestland's boot. But they should absolutely tire Clermont out, frustrate them, and then take points when they're on offer. But also, do spend time in the right areas. So one of these things where taking 3 points versus going for the try is sort of a judgment call, but you would like to see them work both of those in there. But either way, what remains crucial is the kicking game on exit. And the set piece. Like, if they can execute those well and plot their way around the pitch and not have to do that much defending, that's their best method.
Especially if they do, in the instances when they do take 3, that has to be the focus off restart. Like, get it. Do not respond to your 3-pointer with a sloppy exit or a drop off the kick off, and then suddenly it's no value because Clermont are coming at you, and they're Clermont. When the pressure valve is released, like they're a typical French side in that they much prefer having the ball than not. They don't like defending big Englishmen running at them in the mud in December. They would much rather get their hands warm, get touches on every player, and get the ball into space and attack. And if you invite them to do that, you will compound errors and get punished for it. That much, like, Clermont will, even if they are 30 minutes absolutely wayward, if it's a Bath error, a sloppy error, they can instantly get up to the game when that happens. And they did a little bit of that even in Ravenhill. It was Ulster errors that were kind of finding those moments when they're like, oh, actually, and then they were in the game till the very end because of it. So I expect it'll be quite tight and similar in that regard, but I'm wondering what Clermont will show up and what Bath whether Bath will allow them to.
Well, Bath will allow them to. Like, the big thing for Bath is to limit the amount of opportunities that Clermont have, and one of the ways to do that is when Clermont have the ball is to unleash the weapon that is Francois Lowe. I mean, he is their biggest hope. He is their biggest.
Clermont don't really have breakdown experts in that.
So again, you bring line speed on the outside and you force them in. So you've got, from Bath's point of view on D, you've got Jonathan Joseph and Jamie Roberts in there. Like, Joseph in particular has to be leading that defensive line, and just Clermont, they just love to go wide and rack as their danger man. Like, more than anybody, especially without Pinot and Fofana. Like, Moala and Toeva are really, really tidy centres and really subtle as well. This is where things could get sticky for Bath. But it's got to be about forcing them inside, coming up with a huge amount of line speed and forcing Clermont to take the inside, and that's when the jackal game of Francois Lowe can just be so ruthless, because even when you're plotting for it, if he's in the right place at the right time and the ball carrier just falls, and even if the support is there, he can get in and he can be impossible to move and he can make those steals happen. So that's the winning condition for Bath's D. Force Clermont onto the inside, get Francois Lowe onto it. Hopefully the rest of the pack as well can step up and make their impact and get some jackals in as well. It's very much in the ethos of how Bath defend. Make it scrappy, make it slow, force it to be tight. And Clermont, then all of a sudden they'll be doubting themselves, and if they give away penalties, they give away territory and field position and everything, and that's Bath building a score and getting themselves into the game.
Absolutely, no, there's definitely potential for that. Like the likes of Lowe to be outplaying the likes of Itoria and even Fritz Lee. We've seen him be very good and very bad. We've seen all this from the Clermont pack, particularly over the years. Their capacity to be geniuses one minute and absolutely abject the next. And in a pitch like that, in a cauldron like that, if Bath can exert some early pressure and get the crowd firing behind them, and get that doubt. It's sowing those seeds of doubt in Clermont's mind. But then from Clermont's perspective, it's about not allowing that. They need to be, like, literally, like you've written there, jouer is their first and foremost thing. If it doesn't matter about the pitch, let's try and move these Bath boys around. They're not used to it, they don't enjoy it. Get your hands warm in the cold by actually putting the ball through it.
Absolutely.
And try and inject a bit of tempo that is normally missing from games in the rec. And if they can do that, it means you don't even have to sustain that for a whole period. But if they can be clinical when they do and grab scores when they do, it'll be too much for this Bath side to come back from, I reckon. The Bath need to be spoiling this Clermont outfit, and Clermont need to know that they can score to spoil them.
Yeah, this absolutely true. I mean, one of the things that Clermont do bring that is so crucial is the offloading game.
Yeah.
Now Persiliato is
it's a good countermeasure when you know that Francois Lowe is in the contact as well. As get it out of there, get it away from him. Like change that point of contact.
Exactly. And this is the thing: is that Bath, I'm sure, doubtless will be trying to get Clermont narrow with a rush defence, but they need to pick it apart in the inside, and the offload is a perfect way to do that, and they have so many great players who can offload. They are weakened without Persiliato. Yato is huge for them, and without his offloading game, which they're missing, that's obviously just a colossal factor, but they have really great guys. And I actually think I referenced it when I was talking about Bath and their perspective, but the Moala and Toeva against Roberts and Joseph battle, especially when Clermont are on the ball, is so huge. And we've seen already in the opening 2 rounds of the competition the capacity for those 2 All Blacks to...
Moala's been awesome. He's been shrugging off contacts. And I think you're right in saying, like, when that pitch, if it becomes a little bit sloppy, the play will be breaking down in those centres' hands. That's where the contact will be happening when you're trying to get wide, but maybe the pass isn't accurate enough, or it's just not quick enough. It'll be down to those head-to-heads. And
exactly. The difference that winning that contact versus losing that contact makes is absolutely colossal. If the likes of George Moala with a Roberts in his face can put a bit of footwork on it, can maybe get the ball away to a Fritz Lee or to Toeva, his centre partner, then all of a sudden they're through the line. The tackle comes, after the gain line from Bath, it's quick ball, and all of a sudden we have an opportunity to give it to Raka one-on-one, and that's often the match. Exactly. Raka is a phenomenon, and putting him in space is just a huge part of the plan here for Clermont. He's just beautiful to watch.
They've gone with Para this week, mainly because
Laidlaw's form
was rotten, and it absolutely was. That Belfast performance from him is probably the worst showing I've seen from the man, to be honest. But Para, as much as he's a really fine player and a great reader of the game and very consummate Clermont man, he can strike. We've seen him. He's done it to our beloved Leinster a few times, but this iteration of Morgan Para only really has around 30 minutes of really good concentrated goal in him.
He gets tired.
He gets wayward.
The other thing is that, like, if the Francois Lowe's of the world can impose themselves on him,
then his platform isn't there,
and he can get ropey, and then you start to see the box kicks out in the full and the mais-oui and
all of that stuff. So he's a temperamental petit general.
He is.
But he can, when he's on, he can be absolute gold. Like his reading of the game is still great, and if he can get a bit of telepathy with the likes of Raka, we know that he can fire floated skip passes out to the wing to create that one-on-one. He doesn't mind being that playmaker. So it'll fall down to whether the pack is spoiling his ball, and from Bath's perspective, or not. If he's getting a free rein to put players into space, there will be a lot of playing off nine happening.
The other thing is that if Clermont can move it quick enough and force the Bath wingers up and be honest enough, they have a very tidy boot from both Para and Lopez, and it's not something they're going to be afraid to use. So clinical is what Clermont are doing, is what they should be thinking, and they shouldn't be afraid, I don't think, to take 3-pointers. I think in the nature of this game, Bath and just generally, if you look at Bath's games this year, 15-9 against Quins and like they're just not that clinical. The games tend not to be that clinical, especially in the dirt. And when you've got a pair of guys like Lopez and Para, who Para with the boot can be fairly lethal, Lopez with the drop goal is a secret weapon of his. Like, if things are getting slow, if you're getting stymied, what Clermont's saving grace may be is their capacity to be clinical in the red zone.
To outscore them.
But when they get into the red zone, it's just always points. And whether it's a drop goal or we do find Raka,
if they can accomplish that, they will win this game.
So that's where the territory game of Lopez and getting down into the right areas as a first step towards acquiring points becomes the real factor.
For sure. And then on defence as well, they should remember that lack of clinical aspect from Bath and just stick their tackles, bring line speed and try and be in their face. But yeah, just remember to keep their composure and not go headless chicken and give them soft penalties, which they are wont to do. But if they can prevent that, then
discipline is huge, and patience is huge as well, because they just aren't that big a poach team.
Yeah.
So you've just got to be patient when Bath have the ball, and if you drive them back in enough contacts, if they're up for the fight enough, which they very weren't. Yeah. In Ravenhill, but like the likes of Fritz Lee, the likes of Vittoria, really need to improve and then start winning. Just no soft contacts. Start driving teams back and Bath, like your classic English team will sooner rather than later resort to the boot or knock it on.
When they're not going forward, they just don't like it, and that's definitely a key. How do you see that one going?
It's a tough one. I can very clearly visualise. I think as I've outlined the picture of Bath frustrating Clermont, and Clermont are such a tough team to predict because the talent is there, but sometimes the execution isn't. I mean, I would have been more confident if Yato was there. 100%. Like more than anybody, even Pinot and Fofana and even Nana Williams hasn't come back yet. Like they have such talent, but I would have been more confident with Yato in there, and just without that spoiling breakdown presence, it's entirely possible that Bath get on top of them. But I guess when these games usually happen, it's a super tight one and it's tough to call. I always sort of default to choosing the better rugby team, and that's Clermont.
It is Clermont.
They have more talent, they have more capacity to find points, and I guess I'll just back them just to find one too many scores for Bath.
I think see it out in the tie about 7 or 8.
Yeah, I think it could be close to like
could
18,
be even 4.
15 type thing.
Like I was kind of verging between 4 or 7. But I for the same rationale, I think they will. Bath aren't clinical enough, and I'm going to labour the point, but I'm going to park it. Like, I love the rec, but get a 4G pitch for God's sake, because it'll make your team quicker, it'll make you more able to execute and more clinical. It's all related. Like, they're not clinical enough.
The other thing is that, like, as good as Bath have been and as good as Priestland can be, Priestland's form isn't great, and that could kill them. That could kill them straight away. Like, if Priestland has a shocker, that's
game over already.
So,
so that's our opening fixture Friday. We're back in Clermont as Leinster boys are wont to do. We have a penchant for them. But we'll move on then to Saturday's games. There are 3 games on at 1:00 in the afternoon. So we're first going to look at our own in self-interest. Northampton v Leinster. Franklin's Gardens, Saturday 1 p.m. And what a game this is. There's a lot of history in terms of colour. There's Northampton and Leinster have met in this competition a few times before. Definitely Leinster have got the better of it so far. Like this Northampton as a club will feel they owe us pain. They're probably right. They did us once and took our bonus point away in a home fixture, but that was the week after we'd gone and bonus pointed them in the Franklin's Garden, so there's a bit of a wash.
Just breaking their poor wee hearts in the
11
in 2011. Again, both of us were at.
Absolutely,
But that was sensational, and Johnny Sexton's finest hour.
Yes, all of those things. But Northampton don't have quite as many favourable memories of meeting the boys in blue.
I tell you, Rugby Pass had a contentious headline that I'll give you to discuss. Their usual salacious selves. They had Northampton Leinster this weekend, features the delicious matchup of the best fly half in Europe and Johnny Sexton.
So they say.
What do you make of that?
He's playing beautiful rugby, is what I'll say.
Dan Biggar.
This is what I will say is, unlike the Northampton teams that Leinster have met before, this halfback combination is pretty bloody good. Reinach and Biggar is a really tidy.
Also, Cobus Reinach is another one of those Springboks just on cloud 9. Just the South Africans in general are all just playing stellar footy.
They absolutely all are too. I haven't seen a poor South African performance in quite a while from anyone. So there is that. There is also the fact that they do have good strike runners out wider than that. Their backline's tidy and their pack is big. Like they are a much more rounded unit of a team.
Matt Proctor looking like, I mean, he was decent for the Canes, but like it's one of these things when the Kiwi boys come down south, come down up north rather, they just
light it up.
Yeah, they do tend to, don't they? I mean, it's something the Kiwis can feel quite smug about. Is like your stock Super Rugby back just looks unreal sometimes on a European pitch, and there is that factor to it. I mean,
for sure,
we've seen it before. Some part of me thinks
James Lowe.
Part of me thinks if Michael Collins from the Blues joined someone random like Lyon, he'd just be the best player in Europe. It's just one of these things. But Matt Proctor is tearing it up at the moment. Him and Hutchinson in the centre is just lovely. And then you've got Nair Oro, just a colossus. I mean,
absolutely,
what a player.
So
they're killers. I mean, that whole backline is just full of killers.
Absolutely true. both sides are on 9 points, so it's even Stevens going into the this match, I suppose, and these two head to heads. It is still possible that both teams escape the pool, but it's important in terms of making statements.
The double headers will be
decisive.
Determinative. It's definitely important. And like with I guess Benetton and Lyon are out of it, but you know, especially from who is it, Leinster's point of view, because Leinster still have to go to Benetton. Yeah, you don't know, and likewise Northampton going to Lyon. You just don't know what kind of thing you're going to get away from home, and if you do lose a couple here. That said, both on 9 points after 2 games. If they trade blow for blow, if it goes 5-4 or 4-5, the chances are the both of them will be featuring in the knockouts
for sure.
But even that said, the home advantage and the top of the pool advantage is massive in this tournament.
I think
home advantage in a quarter.
One thing that colours how tight this is: the bookies have Leinster as current favourites for the tournament. They have Northampton as slight favourites for this game in the Gardens.
Well, there you go. In the Gardens, home. Well, just listen, form is everything, as we've been saying. What did we say from the World Cup? Form is everything.
Yeah, and Northampton have been showing some flying form.
I tell you, Messrs Ludlam and Wood in the back row is pretty tasty.
Yeah, Frank's in the front row.
Franks is actually
is he on the bench? Oh, he's injured.
He's injured. Yeah, he has a sore toe or something.
No.
One of those prop
killers. Yeah, well, it can be. You can't drive if you can't get a toe in.
So they've got a very, very dynamic back row, and they're just playing lovely rugby. The one thing that I would say about Northampton as well is just they have a really great spirit at the moment. They just seem to be in sync with one another, and there's just team spirit is a real thing.
Yeah,
and after they score tries, they're all sort of
high fives
and
it's positive vibes.
Yeah, there's absolutely just a focus and a positivity around the club that you can see and feel the players' excitement from it.
For sure,
very similar to what we were seeing from Toulouse this time last year when they turned Leinster
reinvigorated kind of show.
Yeah.
They're sitting. I think are they top of the Premiership at the moment as it stands?
Maybe.
They're certainly close to it.
Yeah, they're up there.
I think Exeter, they did take control. It was either them or Exeter, and it's as of last week. But they handed out a whooping last week.
They handed out a whooping to Leicester, 36-13. They are still top.
Yeah, and Exeter handed out a whooping to Wasps, I think.
But Northampton are well in there in terms of potential favourites to win the comp there.
So that being said, how should Leinster attack them? How do we use the ball against this pretty good outfit that they played out probably the game of the tournament against Benetton last week or 2 weeks ago away from home and managed to get an away win with a bonus point in the very last second by playing some industrious rugby. What do Leinster have to do? They were rather I'm thinking in their approach to the away fixture in Lyon. They picked their most physical pack to try and nullify Lyon's only asset, which was scrum, line-out maul. And they did so, but they created a very dour-looking spectacle in doing so. But managed to get the win, which is important, and it's very much... This is a different test entirely. A much more rounded team, I think, than Lyon in this Northampton effort. So Leinster should look to try and set more of their tempo. I think they need to try and play things on their terms. The success we've had in the Gardens before has been... with blitz style attack.
That's it. I don't think that you need to get involved you may, but I don't think you need to get involved in a gunfight necessarily with Northampton when there's cleverer ways to go about it. Like one of the things that Leinster have done to the likes of Toulouse and these industrious sizes is impose themselves
just
physically
hold
on the game.
Ball and impose themselves.
It's hard to overstate the value and the physicality of the tight five that Leinster have. Whether it's a young Kelleher looks like a phenomenal player and looks like a guy who's going to get some test time in the Six Nations for a young man, which is great. But also Cian Healy and Tadhg Furlong. I mean, this is not the World Cup anymore. This is a step down.
With guys coming off the bench who are like Porter coming off the bench is a
who are hungry and physical as well.
Yeah.
But Leinster's tight five wins them so many games.
It does.
And I think that's where they're also going to go from minute one in this, is just those narrow contacts. Can Northampton deal with what Tadhg Furlong brings, what Scott Fardy brings, what James Ryan brings in that contact area? That is the most noticeable area of advantage for Leinster.
For sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Outside of that, in terms of how you're using the ball to break them down, I think it will be a game of patience. I think Leinster won't take too many risks. They are relatively risk averse as a side. They're going to be happy enough to kick the ball when they're in their own half. They're not going to play too much rugby.
Do so through McGrath and Sexton, both of them, box kicks and
and when they're in the opposition half, they'll be more than happy to rack up phases. But they move with a crispness, and they do offload. They're not like Ireland. They do move the ball around. They do, they offload, they run clever little angles, they play off Sexton a bit.
Yeah.
Leinster will probe and they will test your defence beyond that, but they will go back to that physicality, and they will get a tempo going. They'll try and move it a bit quickly. They'll try and suck them in, but they'll go around the corner, and the job will be suck them in, resource the breakdown well, keep the pace of the game up, frustrate them, and then when the space is there, Leinster will cross kick, or they'll get ringers into the game.
Find low when the moment is right. Find low, and the try will come. That's definitely the blueprint for Leinster. And then in terms of defending against this when they don't have the ball, because that's going to be a big ask. Like, this Northampton team have shown good zest with ball in hand, have shown good tempo themselves, and Biggar is choosing some great options. His passing game is looking sharp. So you're going to need the likes of Josh van der Fleer. He really makes his money for Leinster off the ball when he's defending. He leads the defensive line.
One of the things that you saw from Leinster in the Pro 14 last week, when they were playing Glasgow, and they kind of broke the back of Glasgow, and it was a relatively full Glasgow side, and it was Will Connors, who's like discount Josh, Academy Josh, who was performing very much that same role, just getting out into players' faces. And it was really just frustrating them. Extremely quick line speed from the number 7, which Josh van der Fleer can bring, and just sticking tackles behind the gain line, forcing everything to be quicker and less natural than it can be. Really discounting the capacity of the side to suck players in with the short carry game, and forcing them to go wide very quickly when there isn't really space to do that.
And then once you force that, that's when the likes of Henshaw and Ringrose, who haven't found their straps with ball in hand yet at all really as a partnership this year, be that in green or blue, but what they are both very adept at is shutting out that space, particularly when the opportunity has come from the tight 5 in, or just the whole pack inside. Josh and the likes of Fardy, then if it's messy and then getting out into those channels, that's when those two need to be up in their face, bringing that line speed and just shutting the door for any of those options, for painting that picture for Biggar, which you'll be familiar with. He's experienced it through Ospreys of Leinster actually getting in his face and stopping it, but he's also he is one of those guys who has memories of how to unpick that. He's broken the backs of Leinster before in an Ospreys shirt. There's no reason he'll think that he can't do it here with Northampton now.
No, absolutely. So and with Messrs Hutchinson and Proctor outside him, it is a massive challenge. That is one of the more delicious battles. Henshaw and Ringrose, assuming it'll be Henshaw, might be Tamani, and Ringrose up in that contact battle with those two attackers. That's a delicious battle. But I tell you one matchup I don't like from Leinster's point of view is if young Jordan Larmour, who is a lovely, exciting talent, is picked on the right wing. I do not rate his capacity to tackle to Kelly Nairavoro. No, because that boy,
he'll just get trucked out of the way.
There's a touch of the Nadolos to Nairavoro, especially when he's at his best, and he just becomes untackleable. And from a defensive point of view, I guess isolate him. Don't let them put him in space.
Don't let it get that
when
far.
When he gets in space, there's danger there.
Absolutely is. Because physically, I don't think Larmour can stop him, and then pace wise, I think with Carney at fullback, if that's the option, I think he may not even need to run over him. He might just run around him.
Would you swap? Would you do something different than that?
Well, I don't know. Would Larmour go at fullback and then get someone in on the wing? I don't know.
Who's the someone? Not Dave Carney, surely.
Not Dave Carney. Maybe Keller after last week. I don't know. These are all calls. Adam Byrne, if you want to go high balling.
You could go Hugo Keenan on the wing.
Maybe. I don't think he's sticking that tackle.
No, either. I don't think anybody is. Like, this is the thing. This is, we can muse all we want, but Nairavoro is a bit of a freak. So it's eating up the space, making sure that he's not getting those 1-on-1s, and that comes from disrupting the break down ball, making every ruck a bit messy, but that begins and ends with getting out of the line and shutting those runners out before they even happen, before they have a chance to reach the gain line, make the read, make the tackle, stick it. That's the way to stop that. It's just to remove wingers from the picture. And we actually saw a bit of that in the second week from a multitude of teams. We saw a theme of just
wingers almost
frozen
out of the game, just being cold on the wing with ball in hand because it was always the contact was happening inside them. And if Leinster are to succeed in shutting down this Northampton outfit, that's the picture that I want to paint when they don't have the ball.
The other thing that's a massive factor, obviously, is that there's no Courtney Laws.
Yeah.
And Leinster, I think...
influence the set piece.
This is the thing. Leinster, I think, are going to attack at both set pieces. I mean, they've got a very natural line-out operator in Scott Fardy.
Whether they want to opt with toner or not, they can choose that for line out at the expense of some scrum power, or they can do what they do against Lyon, which is Fardy and Ryan, which is certainly the most physical row combination.
I think on paper the best combination that Leinster have is probably Dev and Ryan in a lock with Fardy at 6 and Ruddock at 8 and Josh at 7.
Yeah,
and then you're getting the likes of Daragh and Deegan out of there for now anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the best combination. But absolutely, I think the goal is to attack them at line out time and also to attack them at scrum time. And it's like Northampton are by no means weak in those areas, especially at the scrum. Leinster can be freakishly elite as a club side.
They can turn it on and go after some scrums sometimes.
Scrums that like. It would never occur to the tight head that he's going out there to be absolutely monstered. He's thinking he's going out there to lock down the scrum and get on with his game, and whatever goes wrong, it's not going to be him. But Leinster, when they're at their best, and Cian Healy, when he's at his best, can monster any tight head.
For sure. So and especially if that heft isn't quite coming in from behind with Courtney Laws out of there, that can be the micro kind of difference.
So that's actually
and then
huge.
Line out maul as well, because Courtney Laws, say what you will about him, he's a great line out maul defender. He's great at getting that front crawl through the maul going.
Cameron has so many tries from the maul this year.
Exactly.
So that set piece is massive, and from Northampton's point of view, stymieing and stopping that Leinster set piece, locking down the scrum, frustrating them at maul time. Guys like Ratuni Irawa and Alex Moon in there in the lock, frustrating and stopping the Leinster maul. Those guys really needing to step up in that area.
For sure.
That'd be huge for them.
I'm also interested in the other set piece, which is the kickoff. I'm unsure as to how both of these sides will approach it, because they all have different avenues. You have both of those halfbacks on either side are confident kicking the ball to exit. It's whether they'll want to or not. How efficient will they be off exit strategy? I'm kind of scratching my head at that, because I think there's definitely different avenues and approaches, and it depends what conditions are like, what they're facing when they're there. We'll see on the night, but I'll be interested when scores happen, what's the response of the other team, because I think that will be telling by the end. The ones that respond best to the scores when they happen will probably just about nick that win. But then Northampton, from their position, whatever about exiting, when they're attacking, they need to get some of that fluidity that they've had all year, get that tempo going, get literally a load of runners playing off Reinach, but spreading those edges so that Josh van der Veer can't be quite as effective. Because one of the things that was happening against Glasgow was just, and he wasn't there, but that was the one last week with Will Connors, was just that it was so telegraphed where the ball was going, so there was time to get up in the face. There needs to be more deception off 9. And that in itself, if there's a few runners interspaced wider out from the ruck, it just spreads us a little thinner and means that there's more space for Bigger.
Dan Bigger has worked some delightful plays into his game, including some soft hands, which he was showing off in the second round, or was that the first round against Lyon? I can't quite remember. But Northampton's comeback against Benetton in that second round was absolutely masterful. And they moved the ball very, very sharply, and Mac Proctor is an absolute handful to deal with. They've got lethal weapons on the wing.
They have two Fijians.
They're
what is your man's name in the row now?
Ratuni Urawa,
who linked very well with Naya Ravoro for one of their tries against Benetton as well. Little breakaway one, those offloading. That is one way you can get around the structured defence of Leinster.
Lewis Ludlam is in fine form as well, but it's got to be quick and it's got to be sharp, and Dan Bigger's got to run the show. And then all of a sudden, if they can get on the right side, if Hutchinson and Proctor can get through the Leinster defence, if Bigger can put them through the right holes, Bigger's good. Bigger's crafty. He's really, really, really good. And if Gary Ringrose
also likes playing well against Leinster, he likes beating those boys.
If Gary Ringrose and Robbie Henshaw get out of the line, if they get undisciplined, if they're trying desperately to shut things down, he will time the dink perfectly and get it over their heads. Like he can like his offensive game has really come on, and he has a load of different tools. He has crossfield kicks, he has little dinks, he has a glorious passing game. He's got this soft hands. He's reading the game better and better and better as he gets older.
He takes it to the line. He's physical in the contact.
He has the up and under play, which he's as far as I'm concerned the best out half in the world. Maybe Pollard, but at receiving his own kick. He's great at it. He's done it in World Cups before. So I mean, that bigger is absolutely crucial to what Northampton do. But it's all about reading the game. You're operating at a very high level when you play against Leinster, so you're going to have less time. You're going to be under more pressure. You're going to have to be more front up physically more than you usually would.
Sure. But the central point is they need to be courageous, and they need to get the Gardens firing, get that cauldron atmosphere early by going after Leinster from minute one. Don't allow Leinster to be the ones setting the tempo, be the ones themselves to be getting their hands on the ball and moving those. I think
one of the key ways to do that is when you're on the other side of the ball. And it's something that you saw with Toulouse against Leinster, and it's something that Irish teams in general struggle with is when their big ball carriers are stopped. There are very few Irish sides that have ever been outside of the Leinsters of sort of 2006 kind of era.
Those iterations,
like the Brian O'Driscoll years
of winning games with 24% possession.
Indeed. Outside of those years, it's always very. We like to be able to rely on the one out runner, and we like to be able to generate things off that. And he was what I cited when I was talking about Leinster and what they should be doing. Is working those guys into the game. But if Northampton, if the likes of Tom Wood, who is has played brilliantly against Leinster in the past, if he can get out and be in Leinster's face, if they can just chop the likes of Tadhg Furlong, if like a big hit on James Ryan, for example,
early days,
like if Ryan goes into a contact with one guy is about to win it and do a stretchy thing, and then another two guys come in and drive him backwards, those are the moments. Absolutely. That's going to get the crowd into the game. Then you pile over the breakdown. Leinster don't like that. They gave it to James Ryan because they wanted him to go forward so they could set something up, and all of a sudden he's smashing backwards. That's the picture that Northampton need to be creating. That I hope desperately that they don't create.
Indeed,
but
I know, but it's very possible. I'm fearful for it. So, how do you think it goes in the Gardens?
I can never call Leinster or Ireland games really.
Neither can I, because I'm just going to say Leinster are going to do it. But I'm more wary of that than in years gone by. I was more confident going to Franklin's Garden years ago.
When the draw was made.
Yeah, I was too. But watching Northampton this year, they're a bloody good team with bloody good halfbacks, and they'll fancy it as well. They won't. I don't expect a flat start from Northampton. I expect a helter skelter.
I expect it to be physical. There's like Munster Saracens on paper is the game of the weekend, and it's hard to argue. But this is up there as well.
In terms of form and history
and form.
Yeah, all of the above. It's two really good sides meeting each other. They're top of both of their respective leagues. So the caliber is just going to not be in doubt. And may the better side win, and may that side be Leinster by more than 7 points if possible. But I would take a 1 point win.
Any away win is massive.
To be honest.
But that is the Leinster Northampton game. There's one other game on at that hour, Lyon against Benetton.
The other one in that pool.
Both sides are out.
Less in depth here. We like both sides are effectively out. I think there's more motivation for Benetton in that just they rarely get to play a French side, and in terms of their charting their development, if they could notch an away win in France, that would be huge for the confidence of the squad. But it's whether they'll commit to doing that or not, I don't know. Lyon have quite a proud home record as well that they won't like to sully against the likes of Benetton.
But the thing about Lyon and where they are is obviously they shipped that frustrating home defeat to Leinster last week. Like having been riding high, top of the top couture, they got absolutely hammered by Montpellier. A Montpellier who've woken from their slumber. They may go back to sleep in due course as well. They are Montpellier after all. But they briefly roused themselves enough to
slap Lyon around.
Slap them about the place. But now all of a sudden the oxygen has kind of been sucked from the place after the early season form. And back-to-back home losses and a home loss to an Italian side would really like that. Like in terms of just their whole season where they are
might unravel them.
Could burst the balloon entirely. So I actually think in terms of their psychology, it's actually a pretty massive game for them.
For Lyon, but that being said, I actually, if you're going to go towards the better side, like I don't know, because both sides are impressive packs considering where they've been. Lyon are probably the stronger pack, knowing the way they like to take the games, but I don't know if there's anyone there that's going to smash Bram Stein off the ball.
No, Bram Stein is possibly the best individual player, even including Charlie Naltide, who will be on the pitch. Bram Stein is great.
Yeah,
He's
but also,
really
but this Benetton team are more capable of moving the ball, from what I've seen, than the Lyon team. The Lyon team with ball in hand are shocking. Yeah, they're really good scrummagers, really good maulers. But if Benetton can arrive with anywhere near the ambition they arrived into the RDS with on day one, where they went 7-0 down to Leinster in a fixture that they lose every year forever, with one exception, I think, and managed to get that try back immediately, and we're turning down 3-pointers and actually moving the ball around. If they can try and do that to this Lyon team, it's there for them, I think. That's the intrigue here. Granted, it'll be a red button game. It's not going to be like it's not as consequential as all that, but I really hope Benetton win, because I always root for Pro 14 teams over anyone else. But I also think Lyon need to get more dimensions to their game, and this would be a whooping that they deserve, even if it's a 1-point whooping.
So I'm going to go ahead and predict another losing bonus point for brave Benetton.
Yeah, that's the likely outcome. I'm going to predict a bonus point win for the brave Benettonians. But with a pinch of salt, take that. So we move on then to La Rochelle v Glasgow, which is an interesting game. Like La Rochelle, poor La Rochelle, have been rudderless. It's been a terrible campaign so far.
Well, whatever the hell happened in that in the mind of your man who got sent off in the last game. But actually, generally, their discipline has been appalling as well.
This is true. And they've just looked a little unstructured and scatty as well in their set piece and in their maul and everything that they're setting up, which is not a great indictment on Coach Raj coming in, but they do look, with all the players they have, the lack of structure in their game is a bit worrying. Glasgow, it's a slightly different story. It's a familiar tale in Europe. Both of these sides trail behind Sale and Exeter after weeks 1 and 2.
Glasgow have a win on the board, though. They beat Sale at home.
And they do have a potential escape from this pool that involves an away win in La Rochelle. There's no losing.
So I thought you were going to say they have to win in Exeter. Well, they already lost in Exeter.
This is it. No, they have to win this game. But what they are struggling for is, I think that Glasgow are just a worse side than they have been in years gone by, and actually the general standard of European rugby has only gone up. And and it's been unlucky, because when their sides have had moments that they could have escaped their pool or done something, they've ran into a Sarries or a Leinster and who've gone on to eventually win the tournament.
They were in the lead against Exeter. Yeah, they can move the ball still. They haven't got the depth. No. But their starting halfbacks of George Horn and Adam Hastings are exciting young talents.
They are.
DTH Van der Merwe on his day is a very lovely player. Likewise, Tommy Seymour. Sam Johnson, Hugh Jones.
Sam Johnson is a glorious player. Yeah. Hugh Jones is also paired very well with him. Even at the back, our one of our friends, Rory Jackson of the pink moustache. Yeah. Looking great. He had a great game the other week. But it's all just like you're remembering that used to be Finn Russell's jersey. That used to be Stewie Hogg's jersey. There used to be a Nakarawa in there somewhere. All this stuff used to be.
Yeah, even
and it's
John
not there anymore.
John Murphy was Edinburgh. But
I don't see the depth there to mount a real challenge. That being said, I see more organisation in this team under Dave Rennie than I do in this La Rochelle.
They tackle for days. Mm-hmm. They can strike and find tries. They have young talent. George Horn keeps the pace very high.
Yes, he does.
So I think the big thing for Glasgow is just getting the offensive breakdown right, managing the possession, and keeping it quick. Yeah. Because as soon as you keep it quick, the La Rochelle guys start puffing, and as soon as they start puffing, they start doing stupid stuff.
Exactly.
And then they give you away your penalties and territory and yellow cards and games
and seasons. Yeah, very quickly.
Grey Ronan O'Gara and John O'Gibbs' hair that little bit more.
Yeah.
So I mean, like the La Rochelle seem rudderless, ill-disciplined, all over the place. They're also out of the comp.
That's the difference. Yeah, no.
We're a French team going. Oh no, they are at home in this one.
They are at home.
But a French team out of Europe is a vulnerable animal
for sure. That being said, you'd think with Ronan O'Gara at the helm that he would be valuing home records in Europe more than probably his players.
There's no question, but he hasn't been able to right the ship so far.
No, he hasn't.
But that said, the form of La Rochelle under O'Gara so far this year has been very classically French. Good at home and shite away.
Yeah. So there's a possibility that they prove a little too much, because they do have firepower. Yeah. Like if Rattez can grab a couple of tries, if he can get Don't they have Vito? Or no, is it
Victor Vito? Yeah.
It is Vito, yeah, and he's captain, and like you can get him in the wide channels creating carnage.
Well, one of the things like Rattez, Ratier, and Murray Vallo as a back three is on paper extremely dangerous for Glasgow. Yeah. But actually, the three of them are quite slight and quite not great under the high ball.
They've also shown disjointedness. You've seen it in the pack and in the likes of mall setups. You've just seen this not everyone on the same wavelength element, and it's similarly in the under the high ball. They've been.
This is the thing is that if Adam Hastings is such a young man, and he would be so better served being someone's understudy at this point in his career. If he was in a nation with depth, he would be behind some class out half, and he'd be learning his trade from him. But as it is, he's just put in this position where he has to step up. But we've seen him be very nice. Last season we saw on a couple of occasions him be really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so he's got to be
really good.
Well, he's got to move the La Rochelle back three about the place with his boot.
For sure.
They're going to maintain that high tempo, hopefully get some penalties. But when it's not happening, they have to be able to, in a short space of time, get tempo off a few breakdowns, give it to Hastings, bit of deception, and he's going to put it in the corner over one of the heads of one of that back three who do tend to list out of position at times. And his reading of that is going to be crucial because territory is everything. And it's the kind of thing turning ill-disciplined teams just having to defend and having to turn around and go backwards and having bounces the ball not go their way. That's the kind of thing that can disrupt them, especially a team with this much talent. Like if things start going La Rochelle's way, it could get ugly for Glasgow very quickly because on paper, talent-wise, they probably do stack up as having an advantage over Glasgow.
They do, I think.
But if Glasgow can frustrate them, show their organisation, move them about the place, turn them and make them make tackles.
And also on defence, they need the likes of Gray stepping up and making the 100 tackles he always wants to make in a game. But they need to be out and in their face because we've seen, be it Brock James or High West, they have both options. They're a little flaky. If you can bring that line speed and pressure, the passes get a little loose and intercepts do come from this La Rochelle team as much as tries a lot of the time. But also make the breakdown sloppy, try and harry and harass in quite a traditional Scottish way, try and be combative and niggly and just in the faces of their opposition. They can definitely turn this into a sticky game for La Rochelle, and if they do that, there's every possibility that La Rochelle quit. However, if things start going La Rochelle's way, if things like the set piece go
Danny
really
Priso
well,
can really scrummage to go for him and lose that.
And then even if they can just manage to secure line out ball off the top and get some strike moves going, if they can get that pace going into their game, you're right, it could get ugly for Glasgow if a few tries come early on and the crowd get into it. So it'll be about disruption from, like, Kebbell needs to have a go at, I think Herrera, is it? The Argentine is there. Who's been good and bad in patches.
Herrera embodies La Rochelle because he has good games and he has bad games, but the one thing that remains constant is that he doesn't have a head on his shoulders and he gives away penalties. Which is very much what La Rochelle are right now.
Pretty much,
and so, absolutely. Ollie Kebbell is a really exciting scrummager. He's an up-and-comer and hopefully somebody who can end up with Scottish time, and because I actually really rate him.
I think so too.
I think he should absolutely attack Herrera. I think it could be a game of the loose heads where you could pin both tight heads in every scrum and all of a sudden it's wheeling about the place. And
messy, disjointed
who's
set
that game
pieces,
actually, I'm going to find out because they could have a hard time at the scrum.
They could, for sure.
It's Luke Pearce. Luke
Pearce knows what's what. But how do you see it going then? What are we thinking?
I am thinking Glasgow.
You're thinking Glasgow?
Maybe. Maybe not. I could have egg on my face because they could absolutely get blown away.
I'm thinking La Rochelle are going to do them, and it's going to be another disappointing Glasgow campaign before Christmas. It's already kind of over.
I think it'll end in England, not France.
No, it'll technically end in England.
No, I think glorious French victory followed by inevitable English defeat.
It's equally possible, but I don't. I
think with that halfback combination and their talent that they have there, especially with the rudderless nature and also the choppy and changey nature.
Carbarlo West or Carbarlo James.
Those guys probably won't play.
Yeah,
and we don't know if Body is going to play. Like, we don't even. La Rochelle are chopping and changing and mixing and matching, and they don't know what their team is. They don't even know if they want to take it seriously. Like, for Glasgow, the equation is step up, perform really, really well, for 20 minutes and that could be it.
That's true.
They could stop then. You know, La Rochelle probably would stop. Like they shipped, I know Exeter are great, but they shipped 30 points at home to Exeter in that opening game, and like Glasgow should, like,
they should be going after
I know
them.
they should be absolutely going after them,
sure.
so I'm going to back them to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll throw water on it by saying that I suspect they probably won't get it done, but in a tight, kind of cruel way, as is often the case. But we'll move on then. Also at 3:15 that Saturday, we have Ulster v Quins from the Kingspan, the Ravenhill Kingspan Stadium. And that's a really good fixture, you know, because I actually think these sides are two young sides that have been growing a lot in the last couple of years that match up really, really well. They both play a lovely kind of brand of rugby, rugby, but even they're stylistically quite similar. You're looking at wee Marcus Smith on one side, and then what's his name, Billy Burns on the other. Both of them fond of a good passing game, can drop it on the toe, like to move from left to right and kind of use the full width of the pitch. So I expect quite an expansive effort here. We have, just in terms of colour, Ulster absolutely flying high, 7 from 9 in their season.
Incredible.
Top of their pool on 8 points. Pretty excited to be here at home, welcoming an English side that they'll fancy having a go at. For sure, Quins are still in the mix. They have 4 points, I believe, to Ulster's 8.
They got that gutsy 15-9 win that they so needed to get in the Stoop against Bath. I mean, it was a tight one. You know, that Joe Marler actually coming up with a play on Francois Lowe, holding them in a breakdown, milking a penalty. Like they were niggly enough and game enough for that fight. Which was important actually. I think they do have a nice hard edge to them, the Quins. They are, that being said, up against it after that opening round where we saw Clermont in full flow, and shipping 50 is never good for the confidence of a team going into a European clash, but they'll be aware that Ulster are not Clermont, and that stylistically they match up well, but actually calibre wise this is a blow for blow kind of thing. And one area I do think they have an edge is that Joe Marler that you're saying should be having a go at Marty Moore at scrum time for sure. They'll kill him at scrum time.
I think so.
From Ulster's point of view, in terms of what they want to do with the ball, they have been bringing a really exciting offense to their season so far. They've been bringing great pace. Both of their halfbacks are very exciting. Cooney has actually been really emphasising the speed of play, which is great. Really nice to see. Even
the runners off 9 are super wide out from him. His passing is actually quite wide, even when they're playing off 9.
Wide and quite crisp, absolutely. They have a lovely balance to their centres, no matter whether they go with Marshall or Matt Fettis. Like both are very, very have a nice balance to them, where McCluskey is more of your, you know,
hard yards type.
I was going to say wannabe Sullyville.
He needs to stop wanting to be, because he loses the ball when he holds it so loosely. To be fair, but he's not Sunnyville.
He's totally a wannabe
Sunnyville.
How much does he want to be Sunnyville? But anyway, that is. But it actually does work. He can smash through the middle of the sides. But the Ulster's secret weapon, both on offense and on defense, has been the back row has really improved, and the carry game of Jordy Murphy and Marcel Coetzee
doing
breaks teams up, and then you move the ball once you've got over the gain line. Once you've got a bit of momentum, you've cleared the ruck. Things are quick. Cooney's driving a high pace, and you can go strike, and then they do move it wide. They move it wide with enough of subtlety where you have a McCluskey short option or a Fettis or Marshall short option.
Addison's actually been playing pretty well off kick return and off kind of wide distribution role. He understands the game ball in hand. He kind of runs. He's a very quintessential Ulster man now. It's the way that Ulster like to play is use the full width of the pitch, move big boys around, and try and attack with ambition and verve. And no doubt this will be no different. It depends on conditions. Hopefully it'll be a crisp, cool, kind of still night in Ravenhill, but if the rain comes down, this will all change and it'll become a bit more of a dogfight. But both sides, as far as ambition goes, will be trying to move the other around for sure. And shift that point of contact and trust their halfbacks. Like Marcus Smith has been excellent and has been growing a lot for Quins, and he'll be trying to make mugs out of Ulster, which on defence they can be suspect.
And listen, Ulster, you know, obviously they have danger all over. They do like to move it wide. They do also like they have a Jacob Stockdale if they can put him in.
How do you resource him? It could be kick pass from Billy Burns. It can be Addison kick return down to his right
They mix
wing.
up their kicking game very nicely, but they will have to mix up their game because Quins have a bit of balls to them this time around, and they have a bit of balls to
and
their defence.
I think I rate their pack, their tight five of their pack, more than I rate Ulster's tight five.
And last week in the Premiership, they got that win against Gloucester, and Gloucester were just relentless. They would never ever kick the ball.
Yeah.
They were just, and they wouldn't even go narrow.
Yeah.
They were just going wide and wide and wide again, and they just wouldn't stop. They were moving it from side of the pitch to side of the pitch, and Quins consistently got a read on them, got up into their faces. Now Gloucester at times made it easy for them, but they got into their faces.
Should have kicked the ball a few times. Like, to be fair, that won't happen. Like, Billy Burns does like dropping on the toe, and Cooney box kicks.
There's no question that Ulster do like to go wide early.
Yes.
And Quins aren't giving up that space.
Yeah.
So actually the onus is on the likes of McCluskey, the likes of Coetzee, the likes of Jordy Murphy to break up the Quins defence, and to Ian Henderson to get on top of the contacts, to start winning that contact game, and breaking it up. And that is where the game is made or break.
Like to have had Sam Carter available for.
100%. Yeah.
But they don't, and whatever. But yeah, you're dead right that they will have to earn that right, which is something that Gloucester didn't last week at all, to go wide. It's an old adage for a reason. Like if that space, if players are just blanking out there, you're just isolating your own men. So they will try and endeavour not to. So then the kicking battle will become interesting as well in terms of who's finding the right areas to be playing in on the pitch. In terms of defence, then it'll be a matter of discipline for both sides. But when Ulster are defending this Quins outfit, they will be expecting a little bit of the same, like a bit of moving around. So it's where your position, your big turnover men, Marcel, Geordie, even being Ian Henderson in a ruck can get stuck in there.
Ulster's
Herring as well actually has a bit of a poach game.
Has been out of this world.
So
absolutely stopping the contact, targeting the likes of Dom Brandt, who gives Quins so much go forward, and stopping that guy and smashing him backwards is a great picture. And then all of a sudden, if you can, you have to put somebody on Marcus Smith. I mean, he's talented, but he's just too young at 10. I'm not sure if it's Jordy Murphy.
Would it be Jordy, or would you allocate that to, is it Reedy or Timoney?
I know, but those guys are just so likely to lose that battle. I think it's Jordy Murphy. You have to send down the throat of Marcus Smith, breakdown after breakdown after breakdown after breakdown after breakdown, or Treadwell or something like that. Just getting some big unit in Marcus's face, and the way that you can facilitate that is not by losing those contacts. The narrow contacts are vital, as always, as they often are. But smashing the likes of Dombrant back is huge from an Ulster point of view. Not letting Campagnaro and the boys getting any kind of space. There is a bit of a challenge there, and there is a bit of concern in the midfield defence, if I'm honest. I think it's whether they go for Marshall or Fedas in a 13 with McCluskey, there's a softness there. And Campagnaro is actually a very, very tidy player.
With ball in hand for sure, he's dangerous. So, but it'll be if they can bring that pressure, then Kerr as well. We know if they're going backwards, Kerr's box kicking game is probably what kept him out of the England squad. To be honest, he's a shocking kicker of a ball. And so it'll all fall on Marcus then, and if you can marry those two, bring the pressure, bring the line speed, and force the kick, that's the picture they definitely want to be painting. Because outside of that, Quins will access the wide channels. The true Campagnaro, they have a distributor in 13 they can attack.
You do not want, from Ulster's point of view, you do not want that lad Itoya in any kind of space. Jeez, that try he scored against Clermont.
It was unreal. It was a touch of the Larmour from last season going. It's the hot stepping, changing direction, ankle breakers as they called them in basketball, where you just stood still and falling over as he goes. And so he's danger. They need to swallow his space. Swallow his space. Don't allow it to be quick. Don't allow it to arrive at him with any time to make that kind of stuff happen. And also don't kick loosely to him. Because that's another recipe for disaster.
But at set piece time, Ulster are going to be looking to get their maul going
for sure. Henderson's a good operator in that area. They do have a good setup, to be honest. It's one area that they've vastly improved under McFarland. Is their set piece and their pack in general of set pieces is night and day compared to Underlad's Kiss. They were rudderless.
He's the best coach they've had in forever.
That's true. That's very true.
But he's obviously
set higher standards is what he's done
and
across the board.
And after games he's finding flaws as well, and being no, we need to be better. Whereas in the past, Ulster have had starts to the season like this, and they've been on cloud 9 going soft them, we're going to win the Hiding Cup, and it's all been shite talk and never worked out for them. It seems more likely to work out for them in some capacity this year. This is a huge test
for sure.
them. One of the areas though that Quins are going to be looking at Ulster and going, I don't know if you're quite there yet. Scrum time. And Marty Moore has never ever in his life been at the level to compete with a guy like Joe Marler.
Not at all.
And I cannot picture anything other than every scrum being a Quins penalty. I think the matchup is that bad.
Yeah, especially given like Jack McGrath has been poor for the last few seasons, but he's better than what's in behind him, and he's not available for selection. Yeah. So there's not help coming from that side.
No.
You've no Sam Carter coming from the engine room.
Yeah, I think Ian Henderson will be tight head blocking.
Ian Henderson will be behind him for support, but yeah, Joe Marler can do damage. He did damage against the Springbok scrum.
Yeah.
Like the Ulster scrum ain't nothing like the Springbok scrum, and Marty Moore is nowhere near that calibre. So yeah, no, that'll put an onus on Ulster to keep the ball handling to a very high standard.
Yeah.
If the game becomes about that, then Quins get the edge, despite being away from home.
Oh, totally.
Like
because they move the
scrum penalties.
Scrum penalties are everything, and then all of a sudden, like a knock on becomes just an absolute killer mistake.
Yeah,
killer mistake, and they happen.
Yeah. That's one of the main differences between these two sides that otherwise I think on paper are pretty well balanced.
Yeah.
Is that scrum supremacy that I do think is in the favour of the Englishman here.
Yeah.
But then other than that, from the Englishman's perspective, I suppose they they'll be looking to try and stop the Ulster maul at Lyon. Talking set piece again, if they can stymie that set piece while getting that scrum going themselves, that's a big recipe for it, because it'll be a spoiling performance away from home in Europe. They need to set the template early. They need to stop whatever Ulster are trying to do, and then exert some of their own pressure as well, and try and play with a bit of that verve and freedom. Try and get the ball multiple touches for Kerr and their halfbacks, but if they can play the likes of Campagnaro onto the ball a few times in a matter of phases, that's the kind of rhythm they like to play with. And they get
Latoya has the ball and there's nobody watching.
Exactly.
And then there's 7 points.
Exactly.
Right? And they score pretty tries as well, Quins.
They do. They definitely do. They have you were right to flag him, Dombrandt, but even like Simmons as well. They carry really well in the tight. They actually do. They stand up. And so they'll be looking to create some of that go forward, and then move the point of contact. Try and avoid contacts that are near or around Marcel Coetzee. And try and
Lang is in decent form as well, and Campagnaro in there is always dangerous. But they should even though those guys wouldn't be necessarily their key strengths, Marcus Smith should be looking to unpick Ulster at centre time and just really test how, because especially when they've been chopping and changing at 13 so much, you've Addisons and you've Head Marshalls and you've Fettas and all of these guys, but with McCluskey seemingly, but like the telepathy may not necessarily be there yet, and it's early days. And I've also just seen, like, every one of those guys I've mentioned be soft in tackles.
Yes.
Just all of them. So I mean, like, that has to be an area they attack.
Yeah.
That has to be where they look to unpick Ulster, is just like a perfectly reasonable formation. Just then all of a sudden it's like there's a bit of deception, and we hit the short ball off the screen, and it's Dombrandt running the short line and McCluskey tasked with tackling him. And then all of a sudden you could see McCluskey very not tackle him, and away he goes. And that's got to be something that they've got to probe at, and that's got to be somewhere that they see themselves as having an advantage in.
For sure. So I think those are big performers you've highlighted as well. They need to be physical in the contact on both sides of the ball. When they're defending, they need to try and, like, because as they're both very similar sides, that problem you cited with McCluskey equally applicable to Campagnaro.
Yeah, but I have noticed improvement with Campagnaro this year, and I've actually his tackling. I've been sort of enjoying. Like, it looks like he's actively worked on his D.
Yeah,
and
it's his one-up tackling, same as that entire Italian team.
Yeah,
it's just first-up tackles, nothing to do with defensive reading or anything.
He made a few against Gloucester last week. Yeah. Gloucester weren't making it that difficult, as we've said already. But he did make a few against them. He made some solid reads from 13. That's the kind of thing he needs to be bringing again.
It'd be a good telltale sign in those contact areas on which side of the ball, how up for this are Quins, because away from home we know that, like,
I was very impressed by them getting, I know it was at home, but them getting the better Gloucester. And Ulster have a lightning quick offense,
similar to
So, but they don't have Cipriani.
No, they don't.
They don't have, like, a guy in the form of the likes of Thorley, and like Gloucester have a very, very fine team. Guys like Atkinson as well.
Sure. But they do have, they'll have an approach that was slightly less chaotic as what that Gloucester team are bringing on that particular day. So no, I'm interested in how do you see this going?
Well, this is what I was getting at. Like it's actually really tough, and I would say of both sides are flirting with being taken seriously as a European contender.
Yeah.
And for either side, this is a game they should win if they want to be serious. And I think the winner of this side will emerge as the winner of this game will emerge as maybe serious, and the loser of this game will have been flattering to deceive no matter what, because both of these sides are beatable, and the step up is to beat either of these sides. So it's tough to call, but the way just piecing it out there in my head as my instinct tells me that Quins are just a better rugby team, and they're just going to have the edge in one too many areas, and they're going to catch us. Now this is a bold statement because Ulster have been so good this year, especially at home. They've been winning all of their games. I don't know if they've played that many great teams. Like they got that win against Clermont, but that was a bad game. It was a really bad game. The standard was shocking. Yeah. So I mean, I think Quins to step up and win it.
There you go. Good call. Big call. Yeah. I'm going to say no, Ulster to step up and win it, but win it in a 4-1 margin, like within losing bonus, and then we move on to the stoop next week. And that's what I'm going to say. Yeah. But a good contest, definitely. That's definitely a really good matchup. Yeah. We move on then. On Saturday at 5:30, we have Ospreys v Racing in the Liberty Stadium. Yeah. Not going to spend too much time on this. Ospreys, can they get Tipperick back? Can they start doing something? They have shown nothing. They are, as
Mike
it stands,
Ruddock's first game.
Mike Ruddock's first game in charge. Yeah. As it stands, they are the worst side in the competition, with no exceptions.
Racing look one of the better sides.
Yeah. Look after that showing in Thomond Park, we'll have no fear of going to Neath or Swansea or any Osprey place.
Swansea.
It is in Swansea, I know. But yes, I think this is going to be Racing lots and Ospreys not many.
Yeah,
in points.
It like I'm even more cynical than that. Like Racing put on something of a show in the opening 2 rounds. I suspect it'll be uglier and slower and less showy, and they'll get it done. But the dynamic is whether they can rack up 4 tries.
That is the question. They should do. It's a let off for the rest of for Munster and Sarries, which is the next game we'll pivot to. It's a let off for both of those sides if Racing fail to acquire a bonus point here.
Yeah, you want to see Racing paint their pretty picture. But
you would like to see Ospreys show something, for God's sake. They're the only Welsh side in the comp. Bring something to the table.
You can't be invested in that.
No,
you know why? Because the Ospreys players aren't invested in that. They're much more keen to play a random game for Wales against the Barbarians.
Tipperick was playing against
the
Barbarians.
For the sheer crack, rather than face the reality of their club situation.
Yeah.
They would schedule a game this week in a heartbeat if anyone would take it.
Yeah. It's nuts scenario, but Racing are going to whoop them for it.
Yeah,
but then we pivot on to the other big game in that pool, which is also kicking off simultaneously.
We've had a lot of big games, but this might be the game of the weekend.
Thomond Park, 5:30. Munster, Sarries. Oh, awesome. Jesus. Refereed by the chaos element that is Roman Poit. Just to throw a little spanner in the works potentially. With an awesome colour and history. Munster have a bone to pick with Sarries. They feel they owe them pain because they've been dumped out at semi-final time twice by them before.
Last year including.
But in both instances, it's because they were just coming up against that side that are too good for them, which is very often the narrative with this generation of Munster. The colour of
this game, the pool as it stands, Racing are on 7, Munster tied with them on 7, Saracens are sniffing behind on 5 after their their seeing off of Ospreys, which was fine, but not necessarily massively convincing. The one chaos element to this game is obviously Nigel Ray's comments about not taking the game seriously, which have been there has been a muted element to that in this game week. I haven't heard much of it, so it's hard to know from our perspective.
Will you see Farrell or will you be seeing Vunipola?
I think 10? You can call us out for not knowing if it comes to that, but we're just going to preview the game as if Saracens are men of honour and they're going to pick more or less their full side.
I don't know if that's what's going to happen though.
Well, if it's not going to happen,
given that they picked their full side or close to for the game in the Rec last week, and now they may be sending the kids out for Europe.
The English sides pick their full side every week. That's what they're supposed. That's what they do forever. Like, it's not like last year when they were taking the Heineken Cup seriously, they would have arrested guys for that Bath game. They wouldn't. They would have just kept picking them, and it worked for them.
Yeah.
But regardless, Munster are playing Saracens, and in terms of the pool situation, it is a repeat of last year's semi-final. They are two of arguably the best sides in Europe, and this is the third game of the comp, and the loser I would be super close to declaring gonzo.
Yeah.
If Saracens lose this game, it is completely out of their hands, assuming Racing rack up their 10 points in 2 games, which they almost certainly will. Munster will have got the better of them here at home, and then they will be like more than a catchable amount clear next week, which would leave a win in Paris for Munster, and Saracens can't catch anybody. So they would finish third. So a loss here for Saracens, and it's completely out of their hands. They're begging for Racing to beat Munster in Paris, and then they can come storming back and beat Racing and beat everybody on their way in. If Munster lose this, they will have got a draw and a loss from their 2 home games going into trips to London and Paris against the big boys, which would be
catastrophic,
more than likely doom.
Like,
especially when you consider the Thomond Park factor is such a huge element of what Munster are in this competition.
For sure.
So this is essentially a knockout game. It's
close to
third game of the competition. It is a knockout game between 2, real heavyweights, the champions and the 2 times champions and last year's semi-finalists, every year semi-finalists seemingly. Munster, and this is, what more can you say? This is exciting.
It is very exciting. So I'm going to start with Munster's perspective on the game. With the ball, they need to try and what we've seen under them this year. I've enjoyed is a bit more shape. Certainly, with their ball in hand play, their wingers have been grabbing more tries. They look a bit more competent in terms of moving the ball, where last few years they just haven't been. So there's potential for them getting more off in offense, but they can't be too contented to just go through laboured phase after laboured phase against this Sarries outfit. Because even if it's a weakened Sarries outfit, they will be confident of getting some steals and getting some big hits. On a team that's just kind of one-dimensionally running into them. They also need to be aware of the failing that they've shown over the last few years of just not racking up enough points. If it goes like it has done in the last 2 meetings, where in the first half they're actually winning the contacts, the only team in Europe last year who managed to win some contacts against Sarries for a sustained period was Munster. And it was Chris Farrell's defence shooting out line speed, shutting out the outside, creating that shape that means that Sarries just, their multiple options and their deception was unstuck by people not being intimidated by their big runners. But with ball in hand, you need to be scoring more points for that, because that lasted 40 minutes and the net result was around 6-all. Which is like, Sarries will win that game if it goes that way again, because they will be more adept at finding tries. So Munster need to be clinical with the ball and find points, be that try or 3-pointer. They need to be racking up the points if they're getting that kind of dominance in the first half.
Well, one matchup I don't hate, because there's a lot of matchups I don't like from Munster here. I just, in the contact in the tide, I know they have this Thomond Park factor, but the Sarries D, fringe D is brilliant. And some of the biggest and best players in the world find it very, very difficult to cope with what Racing bring, and Munster, Racing with what Saracens bring, and what Munster do is they can be so one-dimensional in terms of how they build phases. You don't see CJ going forward, you don't see Peter Mahoney going forward in those narrow contacts, the likes of John Klein. They will be blasted backwards by the likes of Maro Itoje and Will Skelton and George Cruz and Billy Vunipola and Mako Vunipola. It's a killer pack. So you've got to be more creative and you've got to move the ball. But one area that I don't hate is aerially against the back three. I think Elliot Daly has come into the Saracens team, which to my mind just bafflingly weakens them. He wasn't brought in as cover; he was brought in as a marquee signing. Which I know, he's English fullback, etc. But he's not as good a player as either Liam Williams or Alex Good. And under the high ball, there's vulnerability there. Lewington's a young man; he's been the guy they've been going with on the left wing. Maitland they've been going with on the right wing, who isn't particularly adept on the high ball. And you've a guy like Conway who's just in the form of his life. And you've a guy like Murray who, for all of his faults, can land a box kick on a sixpence 90% of the time.
Yes, he can.
So I mean, like if Munster are in their own half at all, that has to be a huge part of the plan.
High ball all day long.
Yeah.
Kick it up in the air. Let's attack that way.
Yeah.
Make it scrappy. And then at scrum time, I'd actually fancy them giving it a go. I actually think there's parity there to be got, and then maybe something like.
Do you know what? If they pick Mako, it's still really, really tough.
Oh, it's still really
Mako
tough.
has one man who's come out of the World Cup like a freight train. Like he's really in great form. Last couple of games, he's been everywhere.
Yeah, it's true.
So I mean, like there's still that to consider.
There is, but then that Munster, but the goodness of Munster too. Both of their front rows, the guys off the bench as well. Like even the likes of Jeremy Lockman, who's back in the pack. He's starting these days because he's grabbed his jersey. They all scrummage. They all like the scrum and like that area. So they won't mind keeping it tight that way, but they need the kicking games of their out half, whether it be that JJ as it has been.
Well, JJ's kicking game has been great, but it's been a different kind of thing. He's been pegging corners.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's been doing a great job of pegging corners. And again, that back three is where Saracens are weak.
Yeah.
And Elliot Daly's positional play is not all that. So yeah, absolutely. It's like for me, like you can talk like the Larkin picture has been nice. It would be a wonderful surprise if Munster started cutting Saracens open with some beautiful attacking shape that was deceptively, fooling Duncan Taylor and putting,
because that's another area of isolating. Maybe Duncan Taylor's one off defence.
Yeah, against Chris Farrell. It's the smash game out there for sure. But it would be a surprise to see Munster just cut loose and start, ripping through the side with the backs and putting Saracens to the sword that way. I think it's more likely, like, you need to be on the front foot, and you get on the front foot with accurate, well-chased kicks.
Yeah.
And then forcing the knock-ons out of Saracens, getting the scrums, kicking again, pressuring them again, keeping the game down there, attacking them through O'Mahony at line-out time.
All of that.
Making it frustrating.
They need to be niggly and frustrating.
Making 20 minutes have passed and Saracens still haven't got to have the ball in Munster's half because of all of this niggly stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, listen,
it's
if
doable.
There's any... like, the Munster have extremely close ties to the South African coaching ticket. Razi and Jack Niemar were very recently involved in the demolition of a lot of these guys in a World Cup final, and they were Munster coaches, and they're in some communication with the Munster coaches. So like they should be hatching a similar plan. As
they should spoil them, spoil these big English boys, and let's make it our game, not theirs. And that's definitely on the other side of the ball in defence. That's the approach as well. The likes of Peter O'Mahony, CJ, Tyg Byrne, all in the breakdown all day long, all making it niggly, and then out wide Scannell and Farrell bringing that line speed. If they can bring that line speed that they brought in the semi-final last year for the first half, then there is a real capability of shutting this.
Hot take from yours truly. Chris Farrell is far and away the best centre in Ireland.
At the moment he is
head and shoulders a better player than Ringrose, Henshaw or Bundy Aki, and it just gets missed, but he so is. And it's a real opportunity for him to step up and show that. And if he gets paired with Duncan Taylor, that's not the worst matchup you'd ever see. And they don't have the Alex Good factor at the moment, but as the second distributor to aid Farrell, which was so potent last year.
Yeah, sure. He was starting at 10 for some games as well.
Yeah, but he was also just moving into 10 if you wanted Farrell as your second distributor. They had such a clean and pristine offensive system going. Whereas with Elliot Daly, you're like, all right, what's he doing there?
He's a big boot.
Well, yeah, I know. It baffles me. But they're weaker for it. Yeah. They're weaker for the presence of Taylor over Lazowski and Daly over Good.
Yeah.
And Chris Farrell is a phenomenal defensive player. He's who you wish Robbie Henshaw was in terms of D. He sticks his tackles, he gets into people's face, he reads the game very nicely.
He actually has a little bit of elements of what Lutanio Am does to what he does. He gets out of the line, makes big physical hits, long paired with good reads, and then with ball in hand, like he doesn't take the outside as often as you'd like from an aspiring outside centre, but as far as deft touches and really good physical carries, and you have with Scannell you have a distributor on the inside of him, so it doesn't actually matter as much. So it's good. Like as always, there's potential for this back line to click, but I don't know if that's the area they'll win.
Scannell has a big boot as well, actually, for the kicking game.
For his exit game as well.
But that's what Munster's kicking game is, where they have over Saracens at the moment. It's what they should go to.
For sure. Yeah. And then if you're Sarries, what you should be doing is picking your 18 first off to come to Thomond Park. But yeah, they should be trying to play that Sarries game, and that's to their credit, when they when they do pick their kind of second string side, they still look a bit like Sarries when they get that flow and that tempo. They have a similar shape. They try and play that way. So they will be trying to move this Munster pack around, set that more probing tempo, and use that big wide shape to make it. They not still about have the physicality.
10 in World Rugby,
exactly.
Probably, maybe, when he plays 10 on Farrell.
Yeah.
Like he was just remembering that he didn't make it into our Rugby World Cup 15, but that was with the addendum that they weren't playing him at 10.
Yes, they were playing.
He probably would have if he was playing 10. And he does play 10 for Saracens.
Yeah.
Assuming he gets picked.
Like
if they don't pick
if it's Vunipola against JJ,
I think they lose if they do that, and I think they're out of Europe.
And I think they deserve
a colossal mistake if they do that.
Yeah.
So listen, let's hope they don't. I have a feeling they don't. They won't somehow. But if it's Owen Farrell, which it should be, like he is a masterful operator, even without the presence of Good and Lazowski and these better players than the guys they've brought in.
Yeah.
They move the ball very, very crisply. They're still winning games with sharp offensive footy. Yeah. Their shape is still very, very nice.
They still have Brad Barrett if they're picking him as well, who can lead any defensive line and shut down a lot of what's going on off the ball.
But most of all, it's just about, first of all, negotiating what Munster are going to bring. The physicality is huge. Itoje can shut so much of what Munster bring down, but then the two Vunipolas is great as well. And then it's that classic Saracens picture that England incorporated in the World Cup of just Farrell has the ball. And
there are four options, and he picks the right one.
Exactly,
and it's a hope.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like three of the options are
Billy off the ball.
Billy Vunipola, Maro Itoje, and
Mako or something,
and Jamie George.
Yeah.
Oh, Jamie George just slide through and
untouched because everyone else was double teaming Mano or Mako or Maro or anyone, because they're very hard men to ignore.
Yes,
they're too big and too dynamic.
Farrell will inevitably pick the right option, and that's just where Saracens' offense just starts looking like this really, really beautiful thing.
True.
And it has its own very natural tempo, and still at its best, it's the best rugby that Europe has or perhaps ever will see.
For sure.
So I mean, it's like if they can do that.
Yeah,
it's a hell of a job for your Chris Farrells and your Rory Scannells and the boys to spoil it.
For sure.
But making guys like O'Mahony, who his form hasn't been great, but who has big performances in him.
Yeah.
It's like if Peter O'Mahony shows up in big game Thomond Park mode where he's just everywhere, it's sending a guy like Itoje after him.
Yeah.
So like he gets into a breakdown to try and steal a ball, he gets met with an Itoje every time, and you'll find after 4 or 5 breakdowns that his performance will dip, because that's what happens to a human body that gets hit by Maro Itoje a bunch of times.
Exactly.
So I mean, like
the matchup was great, and then that set piece battle, be it at breakdown, but also at the Mall. I'm really interested to see what happens at the Mall. Because they like their Jean Klein down there, but Itoje's gonna school him.
We keep mentioning Itoje, but it's only because he's probably the best player out there. Like
exactly. And but also the set piece, that particular line out drive is so pivotal to what Munster do and what they will be after Saracens in terms of trying to get that go forward through that area. Maro Itoje is the caveat to them. If they pick him, he will spoil that breakdown. And like if they do what they did in the Bath game where he's at 6 to accommodate the absolute monsters of Will Skelton and Cruz in the road, that's a really physical, savvy kind of lineup.
Like I was going to say it's the thing that gets understated. It doesn't. Everyone else talks about Saracens like they're giants and nothing else, but it probably gets understated a bit on this podcast, is that they are colossal men. Indeed. Especially in that tight area.
Exactly.
And like that's
for a team like Munster who want to attack through that area, that's the nullification
that's where it becomes
factor.
about the kicking game. It's about going where Saracens are weak and going
where they aren't.
And Will Skelton has slimmed down, he's gotten fitter and everything else, but he's still a massive mass of stuff, of matter that like he doesn't like having to turn around and run a lot.
No, he doesn't.
So keeping the ball in airtime is huge.
Yeah, definitely. And when you have guys like Murray and Hanrahan and Scannell, and then Mike Haley has a boot on thing, like, and Conway, all of them can kick the ball, so they should be.
Even Keith Earls put an absolute peach in the other week as well.
That's right. Yeah. So that's definitely the dynamic of the game that Munster will be trying to create. How do you see it going?
I don't know. I don't know who Saracens are going to pick, and I know you guys are going to be giving us shite one way or another, because we just don't know the team. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting dynamic, because like I'm fascinated that they
the
got
loser of this game is out. These are great teams, and that's why it's such a fun game to preview. And because these are such great teams,
it's defending champs against always there.
Always in the
Munster.
semi-finals.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Frankly, it's a changing of the guard. It's a phenomenal thing that one of these sides is not going to be featuring in the knockouts, and yet that's almost certainly
the case. With Racing starting as well as they have.
So I mean, it's hard to imagine it being either. It's like it was hard. Frankly, it was hard to imagine Saracens not running roughshod over this game before the scandal broke and Nigel Ray's comments and everything that's been said since. At the end of the day, if they pick their best team, I don't know if Munster have the tools to deal with it.
No.
And I just I think they'll try and paint their picture with their kicking game. I think they definitely have a better chance than they would have had last year when Good was out there.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately the points, they're just like, are they gonna get the same amount of points that Saracens are going to get when they're down in Munster's end?
That's the point. That's been the dynamic of both their meetings before. It's just like they've had
has
periods of being dominant.
Like maybe, this is the thing with maybe this Stephen Larkham wonder show is about to unveil itself.
Farrell
is a beautiful player.
Sits down Taylor, and then they're away, and then it's Earls in the corner. That could be a great way of getting that one key win.
I'm no offence, but what is Duncan Taylor doing in a side that has had like Tompkins and Lazowski, and so many class players?
Yeah, I don't know.
Marcelo Bosch. I'm sure Bosch is gone at this stage.
He retired last year.
What is Duncan Taylor doing being the starting 13 in Saracens? It's an absolute mad scenario.
It is, and it means that it brings Munster back into the game a bit more.
It does.
I am going to say that Munster bravely get a losing bonus point.
Well, that would be it for them.
Yeah,
losing bonus point is as good as nothing for them.
I know, but that's I'm figuring on the premise we've gone with, which is Sarries picking they're close to their A game, their A team, and if they do that and bring their A game, I think they're just too good for them.
Saracens to just about be too good for them as well. Although with the added addendum that if they don't pick,
if Vunapola's at 10, then write that off. Then Munster are winning and possibly with a bonus.
Yeah, and Saracens will deserve everything they get if they do that.
Yeah,
so let's hope they don't.
That's the caveat to attach. But what a game! What a game! 3 stars v 2 stars, awesome contest. Defending champs against Munster in Thomond Park. Awesome.
Yeah.
So we move on then to Gloucester v Connacht on Sunday. These are the Sunday games now. 1 o'clock in Kingsholm. Absolutely great game in terms of colour. Both sides play running, attacking rugby. You were talking earlier on about that game last week that Gloucester actually lost, where they just refused to kick it, ran left and right and from their own 22, wide all day. But Connacht also have ambition to do similar things. Connacht still have a slight chance of qualification, whereas Gloucester are more than likely out already.
Let's say it's not too dissimilar to that pool you were talking about earlier with 8 and 6, except it's 9 and 5.
Yeah.
So I mean, Gloucester, the exact same scenario as, I can't remember who it was. Was it the Bath
with 2 points?
Yeah. If Gloucester run the table, they will qualify.
Yes. It's unlikely, but it does start with a home win against Connacht and a bonus point.
Well, the thing is that Gloucester picked a B-side to go out to Montpellier.
That's the
thing, and that's like super disappointing,
especially given that B-side only lost by 3 points.
They were definitely good enough to win in Montpellier, and they picked no Cipriani, and they left Simpson on the bench, and they left it too late, and it was a complete farce and stupidity, and
it is an issue. Like, it's actually collectively it's been an issue with the English side this year, between Sarries and this, and it's like, what are you doing? Because the Premiership is not as important as the Champions Cup. In
terms of building a club brand, it isn't as important as the Champions Cup. No. You can compete on both fronts, and you should, and it doesn't do you any good to disband Europe. I can't think of a side that has discarded Europe and gone on to win the Premiership,
or the top couture, which happens all the damn time as well.
Yeah, exactly. Which is surely inevitably in those years where you had sides like Lyon and other sides ducking out of playing in Europe and picking their best sides, they would often go on a run and be top of the top coutures. But when the business end rolled down,
Cast, maybe that 1 year that Cast won it is the one that you could cite. But were they even in Europe that year? I don't know.
But even they would put their main guys out. They just wouldn't be good enough at the time. But the likes of Toulon or Toulouse or Racing or whoever it was would more often than not beat those teams.
Yeah,
and you see that in the Premiership as well. The cream rises to the top.
Yeah,
and so Gloucester, it doesn't actually do you much good. And when you value the Premiership, this is where you make your money, and this is where we have to get top 4, and this is what
have to avoid relegation.
Big European games are so massive for crowds and fans and everything, and it does you absolutely no good. It's
well,
the
Champions. It baffles us as Leinster fans.
It's the Champions League of rugby, and just from a fan point of view, the European Cup is just an infinitely better thing than the Premiership. So it always just strikes you as just really small-minded, childish stuff. And there's no question that Gloucester have gone down in my estimation for doing that.
For doing just that. And
I'm just glad to see them lose the Premiership as a result. As a club, now that's happened. And that they probably do something similar. I mean, they're at home here against Connacht in Kingsholm, one of the great stadiums,
which tends to mean you're more likely to pick your A team for your home fixture.
You don't want to lose in front of your home fans.
Exactly.
So what it is really, more than talking about Gloucester and their hopes and dreams, because they don't seem to have any in this competition, it's about Connacht.
It is about Connacht.
It's about whether Connacht
what can they do. They've shown so much game for the fight in terms of we were panning Ospreys for showing nothing in the first two rounds, which is dead right. But even though the net result last week or 2 weeks ago against Toulouse was an away defeat, and ultimately it was a bonus point for Toulouse and nothing for Connacht, they played with such ambition, played with such skill, grabbed the first try, made a real game of it, and forced a Toulouse side to kind of go within themselves to find that last ditch bonus point try. They're always so competitive, and they're always they do so by playing beautiful rugby. They move the ball around. They have some lovely attacking players, and they're an exciting side. Both of these sides tend to be quite exciting, so I expect a really pacey game. With a lot of side-to-side action, and it'll be about who's kind of that little bit more clinical. If Carty can kick Connacht into the right areas, turn that Gloucester pack a few more times, trying it if it's a slightly weakened Gloucester side, or if it's like a slightly more naive one, if they do naively try and run them left and right before earning the right to do so, then Connacht can get in their faces. They have a good enough pack to be disruptive, and they have people like Bundy Aki who lead a defensive line really well, get up and have no shyness about making physical hits, and Tom Farrell outside him is having a great season.
Is Tom Farrell fit?
I'm not sure if he's fit actually. Is he?
I'm not
sure. He was great last week. But he's.
I don't think he is. No. I think it's Aki Godwin is what we're likely to look at. Porch on the left wing has been bagging some tries.
Yes.
I tell you who's their secret weapon though is Colby Fayanga. He's everywhere these days. He's cutting lines. He's making things happen.
Getting his offloading game going. For that try. Keelan Blade try. One of the ones against.
He's had a few stellar breaks with hot stepping and class hands and linking up. He's a really dynamic ball carrier, and a guy Gloucester are going to have to watch out for.
For sure.
He's a guy Connacht are going to be looking to put into space. Look, they're injury ravaged at the moment. Connacht, they have so few of their starting men. It is an uphill battle for them to get out of this pool. But they're brave and they're organised and they're really well coached.
And one thing they won't be sniffing at is the opportunity to get an away win in England against a top tier England competition.
It's not just that.
This is an opportunity for Connacht as far as the club's concerned. Like they're not at home in this competition. They'll want to be making statements, and Kingsholm is a good place to do it.
There's a great ethos in Connacht, and they work really, really hard. They all have very good offensive instincts. They can chop and change and move about the place, and they all tend to they play this nice quick band, but they all have good instincts for the game, pick the right lines, link up. No matter what personnel is there, they always have tries in them. The bigger question is what they're going to do when they don't have the ball. Are they going to be able to stop what Gloucester are bringing when they're moving them all about the place? Is Bundy Aki going to have a big influence? And then the other big question for me is actually Jack Carty, who is back but is looks to have really not recovered from what happened at the World Cup.
No.
And he was very poor at the World Cup, and he was very poor in that Japan game for Ireland, and looks like a man, when he was coming into it, he had all the confidence in the world, and he looks like he's had the confidence of the world shaken out of him, and he's missing tackles, and he's putting kicks in the wrong places, and he's not himself.
No.
And he's very much a driving force of what Connacht do.
He is. And him v Sips, if that's the matchup.
It won't be Sips though, will it?
Probably won't be.
Well, unless they're at home. They may do.
But it's a tough ask for them, because he'll be against a team that'll want to move his team around, and it'll be on him. The onus will be on him more so than Blade or whoever's in, or if it's Mamion, who I still think is out injured.
No, I think it's Blade.
So it's it'll be on him to try and kick them into the right areas, but also play their game. Don't be intimidated by the occasion. That'll be the disappointing side. Because if this is to go to script, Gloucester will win and win by maybe around 10 points, which will once again mean that despite a competitive showing, Connacht end up leaving with nothing in terms of pool points, which is such a familiar tale for them in both competitions in Pro 14 too. But I would like for them to up that game a little bit. If you can see Feininger getting really barnstorming performances, if they can start getting dominant collisions in the tight and just gain confidence by the moment, by the minute. It'll have to be a moment by moment kind of game. They'll have to grow into it. They have to try and start well. If they leak a 7-pointer to begin with, then it's hard to see them putting up much of a fight. But we know that there's fight in them. And in terms of like set piece, they have a good line out maul. Both of their locks have been looking pretty good this season. Quinn Rue and even Ulton Delan, who can be sometimes a bit soft, won't be challenged as much
now as well. Ulton Delan,
I'm not sure he might be. But they're not challenged as much by this matchup with Gloucester as they would be against like an Exeter or one of these big English sides. Gloucester are a similar kind of running around like in the set piece. I think will be a wash. I think both sides will be scrumming for parity, and lineouts it'll be just on the onus will be on each of the own team to secure your own ball, and then let's play a bit of footy. And I think that will be the dynamic of the game. So I hope Connacht can
loose
thrive
game,
in that.
lots of fun, probably lots of tries, probably an Ollie Thorley try.
Probably an Ollie Thorley try.
I don't know what's going to happen. Gloucester to win probably.
Gloucester to win probably, but I'm going to bravely say that this is one of the best days in Connacht history, and they win by 2 points. That's what I'm with a last minute kick of some kind, or a last minute missed kick for Gloucester. So something along those lines. I'm hoping it's going down to the wire. I'm hoping we have a lot of, like you say, frenetic pace and good play from both, because they are both ambitious, good teams to watch for sure.
Absolutely. We have at Sunday afternoon. We actually have two tasty games. The first of which is the All English top of the table clash of Sale Exeter.
We have a big game for sure. Premiership rivalry, absolutely. Exeter have had the perfect start. They are 10 points. They have 10 points from 2 games, and they'll be looking to keep that going. Although going to Sale is a tricky enough ordeal, for sure. Also, I just have it noted there that the Sharks v Chiefs. That could have been in either comp. Could be a super rugby clash, but it's not. But in terms of Sale, who are the home side, who will be looking to unstick this perfect Exeter start. We haven't seen them put a foot wrong. It'll be Fafanaj, AJ McGinty, the halfbacks need to move those forwards around, because Exeter are big units and they defend very well. But it'll be about tempo, to be honest. Like, they'll need to try and set a tempo that's uncomfortable for Exeter, try and shift the point of contact enough that they can play some of their wide men into space and try and pressure them, find scores. Ashton out wide is a killer. Still has that unbelievable finisher's knack of just finding scores from anywhere.
And he will given the chance.
Exactly. So that is the game plan for them. Obviously their tight five has to step up in a huge way. Exeter tend to run the table in that Premiership. Even coming up against Sarries, that pick and jam game pays dividends against those big men.
That whole front three of Moon, Cowan, Dickey and Williams is they're colossal, and they're all excellent players.
But then even
really
Ewers
tidy
and stuff
players
in there as well. They're huge men who love the tight exchanges. So it'll be a big ask for Sale to step up in that area, and I think it'll be determinative whether they do or not. Because if they do, then it's game on. But if they don't, then it's Exeter all day. You know, that's kind of the dynamic.
I still remember some of the soft tries that Sale did concede in that game against Racing, and when they were a man up, there was an all over the place.
Was it a Racing?
No,
La Rochelle.
La Rochelle.
Yeah.
I keep calling everybody Racing today, but that game against La Rochelle, like, there were moments that were really dodgy, ropey from them, and I just think the way Exeter have attacking, they've been moving the ball with lightning speed. Because it's just the movement of their whole pack line has been much better than I've ever seen it. The way they've been cutting teams to shreds. 38 points to 3 against Wasps last year. Tom O'Flaherty in the form of his life.
O'Flaherty is in the form. I was going to highlight
Nick
this
White
guy.
Putting a huge amount of pace on the ball.
Absolutely.
Garrett Steenson looking great.
Is it Steenson still, or is it someone else who has a similar name? I think actually
Steenson is in at 10 anyway, or was last week.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah, I'll take a look for you. Joe Simmons is in there as well. He was playing in the Champions Cup games and probably will be playing again.
That's who I'm thinking of.
But Steenson was in last week, but the last week's form against Wasps was just brilliant. But they just in general, it's not even a personnel thing. I mean, we know they have Hogg to come in. We don't know whether he's going to be playing. They have like loads and loads of talent. Noel could play or could not play, but the biggest story is just that the culture of the whole team has changed. They move the ball much quicker.
They do. Well, you have Hogg now in the fullback, don't you? You've got to change some things up. When that
well, they had Cordero and didn't
use him at all for sure. But like once they're in the 22, as far as Exeter are concerned, they still know where to go. It's that pick and jam game that just yields such dividends for them, and they're so measured.
But they score from
controlled
deep.
In it. They score from deep now, and they score from defense as well. That was great. Like that Slade intercept try against La Rochelle, very encouraging signs. They bring the pressure and they try and force mistakes. And if Sale are a little bit loose, that's where the pouncing
for Sale come. You're talking about a handful of players. You're talking about Faf de Klerk's unbelievable game to attack, get ability to attack the fringes, cause teams a load of problems. You're talking about the Curry's ability to spoil.
The two Currys absolutely need to step up.
But I mean, in the face of a fully fledged Exeter pack, like it's Exeter are so odds on to win this. So odds on. So I mean, I like, as much as you love to see it from Sale, and you do admire a lot of what they're about.
Are they at the level? Anyone who's been watching the Premiership the last 3 seasons will know that it's hard to look past the Chiefs and Exeter, and just that pack is.
They're better this year. They're better this year than they have been.
Exactly. Like we've been begging them for years to add some strings to their bow, and I was actually last year was when it came to an absolute head in your mind when they were drawing at home in Sandy Park with Munster. And both sides were happy enough with it, despite both sides should have been hoping for more. But this Exeter team have definitely added at least another layer. Like the likes of Flaherty stepping up in a huge way. He's been unstoppable. That rhythm that they have now in attack.
And also just they're big players in defence, and they're actually quite dynamic all over the park. Like their back row is very dynamic with Kavesic and like Ewers as well, and like they can disrupt what Faf brings. They can disrupt what AJ McGinty brings. Like especially if, as we suspect, the pack are going backwards in the set piece, especially like. Both sides are actually traditionally strong in set piece, but the Chiefs in recent history have been stronger. That being said, this Sale side have been growing for the last few years, are definitely on an upward slope in terms of their development. This is a huge test for them. If they can get it done, it's absolutely game on, and they're still in the mix and still in the hunt for escape from the pool, even with a Sandy Park reverse fixture, which will likely go the way of the Chiefs even more so. But that's what really kills them. I mean, I'm looking at this pool, it's like it could be the one team pool. If Glasgow slip up against La Rochelle and Exeter do the double here over Sale, it's looking like Exeter all day.
An Exeter exit.
An Exeter stay in or it's a hard to see past Exeter.
It is hard to see past Exeter. The two Currys is definitely a positive, and it's definitely an area that they can hope to disrupt. That multi-phase that Exeter go is in that combative area, but in terms of actual prediction, I'm going to say Exeter by around 12.
Something like that, by a punishing amount.
By a cruel amount for a team that I actually do quite like, which is this young Sale
But
Sharks.
A team that aren't quite there. Listen, losses to Worcester and really unconvincing against the 14 men of La Rochelle when they were being handed the game. And then lost to Glasgow. I mean, it's just... You want it to be there, but it's not really there.
It's not really there this year. But I'm hoping that this upwards trend continues, and that next year they're there for the hunt. But Exeter look like they're actually in Europe for realsies this time, and they look dangerous.
Whereas Sale still pretends.
Yeah, for sure. But then that moves us on to the last game of the weekend.
It does,
well, it's at the same time as the previous one, 3:15 kickoff in the Stade Ernest Vallon. Toulouse v Montpellier, an all-French clash to match up with the all-French or the all-English one as well. We have Rouge et Bleu.
Yes.
4 stars v no stars.
Yes.
European royalty versus Montpellier. You can tell where my allegiances lie.
Shane isn't a big
I'm not a huge fan of Montpellier and their penchant for taking world-class players and turning them into absolute muck. But
they only did that with
everyone who's gone.
It was Serpentine for a long while, although he has perked up.
Perked up. Same with Franz Stein. Remember, he was in the absolute doldrums before Razzie got his hands on him. Well, Nadolo plays well.
And Bismarck plays well as well.
Bismarck plays well.
It's like, it's the way.
Camera, Ouedraogo.
Ouedraogo's class. Ouedraogo's Montpellier legend.
He is. Yeah, no, I'm not a huge fan of this team. I make no bones about it. I think they're big, they're slow, and they tend to be a little bit stupid collectively.
Yeah.
Whereas Toulouse are dynamic,
they're
fast,
small, fast, and smart.
Really have been canny and wily, and they've shown a very, very impressive ability to get it done in this competition so far. That's actually more so than form, or more so than even the style of play. That's what has impressed me most about Toulouse's opening to the campaign, is just their capacity to get it done. The manner in which they did so against Gloucester was impressive, and then similarly against Connacht at home. When they haven't really found their form yet, the hangover has been real from the World Cup. We've seen it with a few teams. We've seen it with our own Leinster. We've seen it with Toulouse. But in those moments, in those games, when you can find the winning margins, that's the sign of a team that are here to compete and are here to try and win, try and etch that fifth star for the first time ever onto their jersey. That's where Toulouse's head are at.
They've added Toulouse, by the way. They've added the big Rory Arnold to their
they have. I knew that.
Lock, which makes them just much bigger and much tougher than they have.
For sure.
We have yet to see the return of one Dupont.
Yes.
But we still do have Houget. And we do have.
We're treated to Houget.
We are treated to Houget. We're treated to Maydard, and we're treated to Gattoon, who's in fine
absolutely great form.
Yeah.
Who's been paired with him now? It's Tauzan, wasn't it?
Tauzan or Peter Aki.
Yeah, Peter Aki.
And sometimes Entomac if they want to go for Zach Holmes, which is a mistake.
It is a mistake. They're better off with Entomac or even Dupont at 10 than Zach Holmes.
Yeah, or Dupont is the other one, because Ramos can play 10 as well.
I know,
we have a bunch of non-10s who can play 10.
Yes, indeed.
Such a gas club.
Yeah.
But yeah, they on form, they're flying offensive, beautiful footy, wily in the contact areas. Elstat and Kino. It's
awesome.
It's a
and then in
formidable
set piece as well, which is where Montpellier will be trying to attack them.
100%.
There's big men there. Charlie Faumuina is still there for that
battle. Is something fierce.
Yeah.
Chilachava
versus Bai
killer.
Is absolutely going to be one of the dynamics of this game. Is if Chilachava can get anywhere near that go forward that he was getting in what was the game they were playing? It was Gloucester. And he was just dominating. That big Georgian man is pretty unstoppable in those collisions,
as it turns out.
But outside of that, I think it's a stuttering kind of entity, this Montpellier team, who always on paper look tremendous and never really on the pitch turn that into what it should be. This would be a big statement should they be able to do it in the Stade Ernst Fallon, but in typical Top Couture's fashion, I think the home side are winning this all day, and it might be the first time we see a real statement from Toulouse, is what I sense in terms of ball in hand.
Listen, Montpellier last week put 33 points on. I think if Toulouse have to make it quick, there's no question that to make it quick. But Montpellier, by the way, had Mr. Francois Stein back in action last week and looked pretty damn good.
Is he at 15 or 10 for them?
12.
Okay,
so
good spot for him.
But they also have Big Nemani Nadolo back from injury, and it's also no coincidence that their form has dramatically changed since he's come back.
They've always been about giving him the ball.
They basically have.
To be fair.
They basically have been the giving Nemani the ball team, and having him injured for 6 months has been a puzzler for them.
Yes, indeed.
Where's the Nemani? You've been throwing it to air.
Indeed.
We're trying to pick him out in the stands, and it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
But they have a crunchy Nariashvili and Chilachava, the Georgian element to their front row, and then with Bismarck to totter in and be huge but also slow. I mean, huge but slow is what Montpellier are
essentially.
But can they outmuscle Toulouse? Yeah. If Toulouse aren't up for it, absolutely.
If Toulouse are a bit sloppy, then the likes of Bismarck can get his stealing, his poach game on for sure. That's the spoiling image.
But also just big guys, Van Rensburg and Pick'em just winning contacts. That's the dynamic that Montpellier will try and paint. And then colossal guys like Nemani Nadolo, who remains on his day one of the best attacking players that the game has been graced with.
Indeed.
I don't see any of those small Toulouse men stopping him.
No.
So I mean, there are elements here for Montpellier, and for Francois Stein is also just huge boot.
Absolutely good for their exit for sure.
Perfect for their exit. Also, not a bad shout for a long range kick if it gets down to that.
So. No, it's true. It is a traditional kind of clash as well. It's got its own rivalry. Speed v Brawn, but it's got its own rivalry. These two clubs have history together for sure in the Top Couture. So I expect the colour of the game is going to be tremendous. But I do suspect, as far as tempo, that it'll be Toulouse are the ones setting it for the majority, and that'll be determinative. Because if it becomes a slow tussle, then Montpellier are in that game for sure.
Here's one thing I'll say: I know you don't rate Montpellier, they have they have a big pack. They have a big Serpentine you can pop in.
Yeah. They have a big Namani.
If they can stay in this tournament long enough for Pollard to come back,
that's their challenge.
They become all of a sudden contenders.
Yes.
If they can get it right. Like.
Yeah. I do agree with that. Cruden doesn't really fit in this team at all.
But Pollard does.
Pollard does, yeah.
Settled right there next to his old mate Francois
and
Serpentine, and like it's just like, ooh, hello.
Yeah, suddenly this is all good because we have a big marauding pack and we can kick the ball in the air, and it's we have a Nemani and Dolo to go to on the wing. Fun.
That loss to Connacht was
stifling.
Sloppy.
Yes, it
was.
Was.
Really, they shouldn't have lost that game, and they did, which was great for Connacht.
But it's reflective of all the reasons I dislike that club. They have a knack for underperforming.
Yeah.
They've come to the RDS back-to-back seasons and shipped like 40 points in both.
Yeah.
They wreck my head because they spend so much money and get so many good players in and end up producing rubbish rugby at the end of it all. Whereas Toulouse produce through their academy, and they do get marquee signings, but they all play Toulouse rugby.
Big picture, there's no question that Toulouse are sort of the good guys versus the villains. But I tell you what I like bringing Tier 2 guys into the fold.
Yeah.
And Montpellier started to do that.
Chilachava, obviously.
They have a Georgian thing going on, Narishvili as well. And it's just, I respect it so much more when it's hoovering up the talent from the Tier 2 nations and giving those guys an opportunity than when it's just like buying an All Black.
Yeah.
Like I that's what I hate.
Yes.
But I mean, there's a Georgian element that makes me like Montpellier a little more than you do.
I know that.
It's a damn Georgian and South African mix. How could I not love it?
How could you not love it?
But there's a beautiful French Toulouse,
which you have on your... This is it. Like I have such an affinity for Toulouse. They are the other 4-star team in the comp, same as ourselves. Utmost respect, and I expect them to flex their muscles a little bit, show some European credentials in this fixture, and put this Montpellier outfit to the sword.
I probably agree. Probably, but not necessarily.
Not necessarily. That we will wrap up with that.
Yes,
then.
We'll wrap up. Okay, with that. We'll leave. We had a long list of other news, and there is some crunchy stories in there. We will get to it, but not this week. Unfortunately, we're just out of time
for sure.
And So listen, thanks so much for watching. That is the Champions Cup of this week.
Double header time. It's first of round 1 of 2 in terms of these the dynamics of these fixtures. They're very interesting. There are some really interesting games in there.
Just some great games as well. It is phenomenal footy. You do have some of the best talent in the world playing. You also have, as we've gone through, just some awesome dynamics to these games. They tend to be really crunchy. This is the weekend that it's really going to take off. Leinster, Northampton, and Munster Saracens in particular are just glorious games of football.
Indeed.
And so I mean, just mark your calendar. Here we go. This is going to be a treat.
Yeah,
a treat for all
European
to see.
Rugby finally gets into gear post World Cup and spurs on this next cycle of rugby. Essentially, it clicks into gear as of this weekend, as far as we're concerned.
So listen, thank you so much for watching, guys. If you do like what you're seeing, please subscribe. And you can see all of our other vids. We upload some shorter ones, some previews, everything. Sure. We also have a load of World Cup content that you can look back over. Like the video, comment as well. We do love an active comment section. Sure. It's one of our favourite things about the channel is how the comment section has started to come to life in recent months. We'd love to keep that going in this post World Cup world that we're now living in. By all means as well, share and ring the bell and all of your other generic
all those wonderful YouTube things.
But listen, we will be back next week between the double headers to look back and look forward in a perfectly easy to do sort of way.
Yes.
They'll shape quite nicely, reviews and previews all in one, because it's the same teams, it's the double headers. It's a fun dynamic in club footy that you only get to see at this time of year. So we'll be back doing that next week, and until then we'll have to say peace out, and I'll see you then.
Chat to you then, guys.
Bye.
Hey.
Oh, would you believe what I've done?
What a drop.
I'm going to throw it.
What a drop.
Oh, nearly.
Caught him on the rebound. Yeah, too low. See, that's the problem with that little Leinster ball.
Where's the big ball?
It's over there.
Ah.
No.